I quite like being the underdog because then less people are just expecting from you. When you go into a fight and everyone expects you to fight, there's obviously there's that pressure for you to come through and go with the goods. When you are the underdog, no one really expects much, so there is less pressure to begin with. I don't think I was ever there to win the fight, no matter what, whether it was decision or anything else. And by the fact there wasn't a belt for me there on the night was also a big indication for that as well.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 312th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Andy Patterson, Dave the Hater Lowback and Ozzy Smith. That was an interview there with Lucas Brown, the big Australian, done by our head of the technical department over at the Boxing Asylum, Ben Faruqi, just before Lucas Brown's fight with Kamil Sokolowski there at the weekend. He was dropping a few bombs, giving us a bit of information, so keep listening later on and hopefully you'll hear him talking about his upcoming fight, because he told Ben exactly who he's going to be fighting next and when it's going to be taking place as well. He also talks a little bit about James Toney. That particular fight there was Lucas talking about his infamous scrap out in Chechnya, I think it was, when he went over and won the WBA title, a version of it anyway, against Ruslan Chagayev. So keep listening and we'll drop a few more in during the evening. Shout out to everybody in the chat, if there is indeed anybody in the chat, because I haven't even opened it up yet, so there could be somebody in there, there might not be. Hopefully there is. I know someone who is here. It's Andy Patterson. Let's get stuck straight into the action over the weekend, Andy. Erislandy Lara against Brian Castano. We did talk about this fight last week. Obviously, we previewed it. We weren't sure what Castano was going to bring to the table. You'd seen more of him than I had. Excellent amateur. I'll be honest with you, I thought this was a brilliant fight. Two boxers trying to impose their styles on one another, reacting, adapting to what the other person was doing. It was a really good technical matchup. Am I completely wrong here, Andy? I thought it was an excellent fight. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, decent technical fight, mate. Very, very close. Unfortunately, the copy that I was watching was one of those kind of zoomed-in copies and that, so I probably missed a fair bit of body work, but I did think Castano, who was actually working good left hand at the body, kind of like negated it, kind of like probably the latter half, or maybe as the fight wore on. But I think, I'm not too upset with the result. I think either a point or two either side. I personally thought maybe Lara just did enough to shade it. I thought he kind of landed more of the kind of cleaner blows. I just think, as I said, I think Castano kind of like negated his best shot, which was the left hand at the body. But certainly, I would also say that Lara is probably going to go after this year. Probably, I know that was some sort of kind of world title of sorts there last night, but unless they're going to kind of get a rematch made and stuff, I really didn't see where Lara's going to go next. I think personally speaking, I think a rematch is more than warranted. Brooks floating about the top end of that division, that ranking body as well, but I don't know what's happening with him at all. So again, as I say, I don't know where Lara's going to go after this fight. It was a very, very good fight. Castano, again, as I say, is a very, very good fighter. Definitely kind of class above any of your kind of current Argentinian fighters that we've got at the minute. But rematch definitely required, in my opinion.
Yes, I want to see it again. Hey, to Dave Lowback. I don't know how much you saw of it. It was over in the Barclays Centre, 115, 113 apiece, and then a 114, 114 from Julie Lederman forced it into the draw. Lara can snake charm you if you're not careful. He's able to stop volume punchers like Castano from throwing too much, and that's what he did early on. I thought Castano then came back into the fight. He slowed around the 9th round. Lara took over, and then Castano came back in the last couple of rounds. Nice little left hook to the body, as Andy mentioned there. I remember Jarrett Hurd adopted the same approach. He was coming off to the side, in and around Lara's southpaw guard and dropping that left hook to the body in. But as Al Bernstein mentioned, around the 8th, 9th round, he stopped throwing that so much, and that could have possibly cost him the fight. I had it 115, 113 to Castano, Dave. How did you score it? Did you see it?
I only saw the first couple of rounds. I just started watching about 20 minutes ago because I was watching the UFC card last night. I mean, no offense to boxing, if they were making the kind of matchups MMA is able to make, I would be watching them. Though, to be fair, from what I've seen, it was a very well-matched fight, and it's hard to tell how much of it is Castano's actual quality as a fighter and how much of it might be Lara being on the slide. But this kind of style has always given Lara trouble. I think he lost to Carlos Molina, a guy who doesn't hit very hard but is a volume puncher. Jarrett Hurd's a volume puncher. Canelo won rounds against him by throwing in volume, especially to the body, not landing much clean, but that ended up being a close fight because of the volume punching and pressure against Lara. He struggles with that. He struggles to clearly win rounds when his opponent is willing to throw like more than who was it? Terrell Gachet, who he just kept his hands at home all night.
Do you want to watch that again, Dave? Thank you very much.
Well, then I guess ironically, he famously lost but was most likely robbed against Paul Williams, who's the volume puncher of all volume punchers. So it's not just volume, that beats him, because I think he handled Williams quite well. It's a certain type of volume. Also, Williams always had a tremendous weakness to southpaws, it seemed, and slickness. So yeah, it was a well-matched fight. You had the slickness versus the come-forward volume. And I can't say about how it went down the stretch because I haven't gotten that far yet, but I'm just glad for the sake that we had an entertaining fight with Lara in it again, which you don't always get. And hopefully we'll see a rematch, since most people seem to feel that a draw was a reasonably fair scorecard. Or a fair result, anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with the draw. Like I said, I had it 115, 113 to Castano, but whenever you're throwing in scores that close, then you can't argue with the draw, really. There was a WBA belt on the line of some description. Kurt Ward had thrown in another belt this week. Talking of belts, Boxing Scene reporting WBC president Mauricio Suleiman smiling as he announced that Canelo versus Jacobs will have a Mayan belt at stake. Love a good Mayan belt. Can't wait to see that one.
What the fuck is that?
Oh, no, it's been specially created, Andy, for the Canelo Jacobs fight. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, Andy. I was thinking Canelo versus Jacobs, it's a big fight, needs a big belt. Let's create one. Why not have a Mayan belt on the line?
Yeah, I mean, but is it some sort of kind of Azteca type thing? I have no idea.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Kurt Ward brought that to my attention anyway. We love a good belt, don't we?
Oh, we can't help it, mate. We can't help it. I mean, I would really love to know the sanction fee for this Mayan Azteca belt, whatever it's called. What the fuck?
Don't try and understand them, Andy. Don't try and get into their heads. It'll only send you mad.
Yeah, but it's just like they've got to stick their whore in everything, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Why not? Sanctioning fees, baby.
Yeah, WBA are the best at that one, baby.
Yep, the WBA. Castano retains his belt anyway. Hopefully he'll get it sorted out in this division. He was tight at the division below. He looks nice and sharp, nice and smooth at this division, Aussie. Lara, he's very sharp on the counter. He always gives opponents something to think about with his speed and his timing. You could tell by the way Castano bobbed and weaved into range, the way he was sliding his feet and cutting off the ring. This was a guy who knew exactly what he was doing. I love seeing two well-schooled guys who've mastered the moves after years of practice, and it looks so natural. These two guys, Lara and Castano, it just looked like two guys who've done that.
Yeah, I agree. It was an enjoyable fight to watch. Really enjoyed it. I thought, to be honest, a draw was a relatively fair result. I thought the finish from Castano, particularly in the 11th and 12th, where it was 2 rounds that he needed for me, which sealed it for him. I had Lara ahead after 10. But again, can't complain about a draw, and I would happily see the rematch. I don't think there's any reason why it can't happen again, and it would be interesting to see the outcome straight from that. But with Lara, he's always involved in close fights, and I mean, if you just take a look at his record now, I mean, he's never dropped a decision. I mean, it's either draws or, I mean, like I said, he lost a majority decision to Paul Williams. Lost a split decision against Canelo. Many people who felt Lara won as well. It wasn't one of those, where that was a controversy. People thought Lara actually beat Canelo. And then obviously the Jarrett Hurd decision as well, back this time last year as well. So, no, it was an enjoyable fight, and I think the best thing that can happen for both fighters is probably see it again next time, unless Castano, they call some sort of mandatory to potentially get rid of the regular title, and when he goes on to box Jarrett Hurd. If not, I think I want to see the rematch again.
Yeah, this is one rematch I wouldn't mind seeing again. Gabe's on the call. Gabe Lewis, good to have him back with us. Stylistically, Gabe, I thought Castano slightly reminiscent of Fernando Vargas, maybe threw a few more punches than Fernando, but the hands forward, sort of coming forward style, I could see similarities there. The commentary team made a great point, I thought, when they said that Castano was refusing to accept the clinches. Lara, early on, wanted to throw a couple and then grab hold of Castano, and then after about the second round, he said, no, I want to throw, and that was when he was having a lot of success. That said, Gabe, one area we thought Castano would have success, one area we thought he would excel in was the punch output, but Lara, according to the stats anyway, matched him pretty much punch for punch throughout the fight, which I thought was interesting because that was perceived to be Castano's strength, his strong point, Gabe.
Yeah, I thought that was what actually saved him from losing this fight, was his activity. A lot of times whenever you watch a Erislandy Lara fight, you see a guy that doesn't have great output, and the last couple of fights he's been throwing. So I think it's cool what we're seeing is kind of his evolution in terms of his style as he's aged a bit. I thought they were harping on that a little bit too much last night on the commentary, the age and stuff. But you've seen it in his last couple of fights. He's transitioned away from as much movement to standing his ground a little bit more, throwing more punches, and trying to keep his opponents back with that straight, then the left to follow it up, or excuse me, the jab and then the straight left to follow it up. And to me, it's interesting to see that happen because he has been known as a guy that moves around quite a bit in some of his previous fights up until the last few. So the output, though, like you mentioned, was, I think, what saved him in the fight from losing the decision. I think if he hadn't have been as active as he was, then he would have lost that decision. I noticed seemed like in the middle of the rounds of the fight that he was possibly losing rounds in the last 10 seconds. Whenever you heard the clapper for the last 10 seconds, Castano would really bring it on. That's whenever he started increasing his output. And I thought that was interesting. I felt like there was a few rounds there where Lara controlled the fight for most of the round, and he landed better punches throughout most of the round. But then that last 10 seconds came on, and it was, if you go back and watch it, listen for the clapper at about the 10-second mark, and that's whenever he really started pouring it on. And so I think that Lara probably lost a few rounds there in the mid portion or early mid portion of the fight, a few rounds in the later part of the fight on that last 10 seconds of activity. And let's be clear, you can do that. It's been done before. It's something that people use as a strategy. And I think that it was employed well. And I think that's part of the other reason why we saw that draw, because I felt like Lara won by 2 rounds. That's the way I felt. So knowing that, and then knowing what I saw with the way that the rounds were going, it doesn't make it implausible that the draw was there. I don't know how I didn't score it even. Like I said, I didn't see a round that I felt was even. I felt like you could say, well, this way or that way, whichever style you prefer, would have given you a pretty clear output on any round. So, and I felt like, again, that it was interesting to watch that output increase. To me, that's really what saved the fight for Lara from being a loss.
Yeah, Lara managed to save the fight there, in Gabe's opinion. Moving on to the undercard, everybody, because, I mean, we've pretty much decided that Castano and Lara, we'd like to see them have a rematch, wouldn't we? I thought to myself, how would Jarrett Hurd get on against Castano? And Castano's quite small, isn't he? I think he really would struggle with the size of Hurd, because Hurd is an absolute monster. Same with Munguia. You know, I think he
all would, mate. Every one of them would.
Yeah, he is quite small, isn't he? And you can imagine Hurd, like he's about 6 foot odd, he would be towering over the likes of Castano.
Hurd's bigger than Kelly Pavlik. When he's no training, actually. I mean, I remember seeing that picture. I mean, he was taller than Pavlik. I think he said in Joe Rogan he goes about something like, I don't know, like 180 or something like that. I mean, Hurd's massive, man. I mean, as I say, he's I think even at middleweight, he's still going to have a fair bit of advantage. But against anybody at 154 and that, I can't see it. It's going to take somebody with elite talent to handle Hurd. And, you know, Hurd's no technically absolutely brilliant. He takes a bit of time to get yourself going and stuff like that as well. But I just think like sheer size, momentum, and just like, you know, absolute rehydration of that guy. I mean, it's incredible.
The way I see Jarrett Hurd is he's very vulnerable. As big as he is and as tough as he is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's only a matter of time till, like, you know, the chin gives out. He can't rely on the size and physical toughness forever. He looked, in my opinion, pretty shit in his last fight against that guy, where he said beforehand he wanted to show how he could box as well as brawl. And he could counterpunch and all this. And you saw him trying to be slick against, who was it? It was some British guy who, like, wasn't very good.
Jason Wellborn.
Yeah, Wellborn. And Wellborn was actually outworking him and outboxing him for like the first little bit, and then Hurd just like, oh fuck this, I'm done getting I'm done getting made to look like a fool. Just turned it up the volume and eliminated the guy with ease. But you know, you can't sell out against like high quality opponents. And the same thing happened when he fought Tony Harrison. He was trying to box. He was trying to set up big shots. He ended up having to win by using intense pressure and wearing Harrison out rather than boxing.
We did agree, actually. We did agree at the time, you know, Hurd's prime peak years is going to be very, very short, maybe 2 years because of the way he fights.
Yeah.
Just because of that sheer size, he's going to get away with 154.
I mean, he took like tons of clean shots off of Lara and Austin Trout, and he took some clean shots off of even Wellborn. He takes clean shots every time he fights. That's not gonna. I like the guy. He's entertaining, but it's not going to lead to any longevity for him. And I think, honestly, he's just waiting to be taken by somebody with a good punch, somebody with some reasonable IQ, and somebody with a gas tank.
At some point, possibly. I'm not quite sure.
Canelo's the fight, by the way. That's going to be the fight that's going to happen.
Think so?
Yeah, Hurd Canelo at some point. It's going to be.
He has to move up. He can't stay down there for too long, you wouldn't have thought.
Well, again, as we say, I mean, if he's going to stay at 154 for, like, say, you know, drain himself and that's just going to also just you know, etch years or, you know, months off his career anyway. And consider the way he fights and stuff like that, his prime could be even shorter.
Could be. Talking of big guys, Ozzy, what about the heavyweights on the undercard? Luis Ortiz, Christian Hammer. I thought Ortiz looked at times like he'd slowed a little bit, looked a little bit vulnerable. Both men had bloodied noses. Hammer, he was tough, he was game. It was an entertaining enough scrap between two bloaters. It looked like a fat Richard Schaefer, Hammer, but he had a go and he landed his fair amount of shots and that. And I thought he wasn't the worst opponent in the world for Ortiz. Was this just a case of Ortiz playing down, trying to get the 10 rounds, or do you think he is starting to slow now at 40 years of age, apparently?
I think he's starting to slow. I think last night he looked old. I thought he would do a pretty decent job on Christian Hammer, but it was... Look, he won the fight with relative ease in terms of it. He never looked in threat, but he did get caught. I think... For me, I'd have to see it again, but I mean, he dipped his legs big time, and I don't know if you know if his gloves skimmed the mat, which it could have been ruled some sort of knockdown. I mean, the way he dipped down, it was like he was basically on his backside, but no, he was in a bit of a bloody mess towards the end of the fight. Hammer threw his shots at times, and he caught Luis Ortiz quite not with relative ease, but he caught him more than I thought he would anyway. And yeah, I mean, did he need the rounds? Not in my opinion. I mean, for me, particularly at his age as well, if he can be getting somebody out there in 30 seconds or a minute, he's going to be doing it. I mean, he's done his last two fights now, one against that Travis Kaufman and now against Christian Hammer. They've both gone, well, Kaufman was stopped in the 10th, and obviously Hammer saw it out and went the 10 rounds as well. I'm now not sure how much of a job he will do at the top level. Like I said, I think he slowed down last night and he started to look older than what he actually is. I mean, he claims he's, 39, 40. In reality, I think we all know he's a lot older than that. and I think maybe age is catching up on him. And I do think that, look, I mean, he did a job on that Castano who we've seen against Nathan Gorman and Joseph Parker, but maybe age is just catching up on him now. It's going to be interesting to see where they look to get him next. Are they going to get him in with someone like a potential Joshua or a Dillian White, or is he just going to box another opponent on a similar level to Christian Hammer?
Well said, Ozzy. Thank you very much for that. Joining us on the call now, we have our first guest of the evening. Delighted to welcome Joe Mullens. How are you, Joe?
Yeah, not bad. Thank you, mate. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Thanks for joining us. You have a big fight coming up, obviously, this coming Saturday against Liam Williams for the British middleweight title. How's things coming along?
Yeah, really well, mate. Yeah, finished training. Just ticking along now, really. So, yeah, just 5 weeks, just getting through it, really. Just make the weight and then, ready to crack on, really.
You've obviously been watching a lot of Liam. There's been a bit of back and forth going, I've noticed in my emails over the press releases. You've said a few things, he said a few things. Is that just all part of the game?
To be honest, I ain't really said anything. Ain't really my style to say a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the only things I've sort of said is when I've been interviewed, really. I don't really do social media. I think I've done I don't really do Facebook or anything like that, so it's not really my thing. But yeah, no, listen, I respect Liam as a fighter, and I know on paper I'm well above me grade, so I've just got to go in there and do what I do, and hopefully it will be good enough. But to me, there's no real need for the needle, because at the end of the day, we're going to do what we're going to do to each other, I suppose, anyway. So there's no real need for all the other stuff. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, well said. Boxing's returning to the Royal Albert Hall. You expecting to have a good crowd in there, good atmosphere?
Yeah, I don't really know how ticket sales have gone on my end, but I know a lot of people have been talking to me about it. So I'm very lucky, really, that I get a good following. Always have done since I turned pro. And yeah, the atmosphere when I fight is always brilliant, no matter where I fought. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, the venue's the venue. It don't really matter to me. Ring's a ring. So it'd be nice for everyone else, I suppose, who's going. But yeah, the ring's a ring, and that's where me and Liam will end up, and that's where we've got to do business.
I've seen you before. You have a crowd-pleasing style. We've seen you boxing on Box Nation in the past. This will be on BT Sports. You'll be showcasing your talents to a wider audience. You must be looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I don't really think about anything else around it, to be honest. It is what it is. I'm used to fighting on Box Nation. I'm used to fighting on BT now, so it's nothing new to me. Yeah, I don't really try not to think about everything else. It's just what I've got to do and try and do it to the best of my ability, and that's all really I can do. So that's all I just try and focus on, really.
Yeah, well said. Is obviously the two of you in the ring. We've had Mark Heffron on the show before. I honestly thought Heffron was going to beat Liam Williams, but the boxing display Liam put on the night was very impressive. Did you see the fight? What did you make of it?
I haven't seen all of the fight. I've seen a clip of it. Listen, Liam's a world-class fighter. He's got aspirations to go on to world titles after me. Well, it's my job to not stop him from doing that, because hopefully he does go on to world titles after me. But it's my job to not let him beat me, so I can try and better myself. So, yeah, listen, I ain't really got a bad word to say about Liam. He can say what he wants or about me. It's not really my style to badmouth him. I'm just going to go in there, do the best on the night that I can possibly do, and yeah, look to better myself after the fight. That's all there is to it, really. There's nothing to really dress up about it any other way. It's just a fight's a fight, and if you're a fighting man, you do your best on the night, and that's it.
Yeah, just to remind the listeners, we've got Joe Mullens on the call, 11-2. Smoking Joe, 32 years of age, from Brentwood, Essex. Let's have a look at some of your previous fights. Obviously, there was the 2 bouts with Lee Markham. Tell us what you remember about those ones, Joe.
They were, to be honest with you, the biggest pressure fights that I had on me, bigger than this fight, really, because me and Lee were boxed in the same amateur club. both boxed for 5-star and both from the same area, all know the same people. So for me and Lee, there was a lot more pressure on us really to perform, and they were good fights. We both had a pop at each other, and listen, Lee's a tough boy. I've got massive respect for Lee. Lee's a mate as well, so that was 2 hard fights. I mean, with Liam, really, I know he's better than me in every department. It's up to me to just perform on the night and give it a go. I'm not deluded. I know he's a better boxer than me and everything, but I don't mean I'm going to lay down. I'm going to have a go with him.
Yeah, have a go with him and try and level the playing field type of thing.
Yeah, of course.
Just looking earlier on in your career, 2013, a defeat to Michael Obin. Not familiar with that one. Do you want to tell us what happened there?
Yeah, that was early on in my career. I think it was a 10 round. I was trying to make light middle at the time. Messed up really with the weight, which most boxers would probably come out with that excuse. But yeah, no, it went points, and obviously the judge, I think, give it to him by a round. So it was one of them fights I could say I learned from it. Did I really? Probably not, but it's one of them. He got the decision on the night. I tried my best on the night, and it weren't good enough. So I think everyone who's ever fought me has probably looked at me before and gone, "Yeah, I'll outbox him," but not many people have. So it's everyone's going to outbox me because most people are better boxers than me, and that's the honest truth. But it's up to me to put the pressure on and try and break them down. So, and that's what I've got to do with Liam. I know what I've got to do with Liam, and I know it would be my hardest fight by a mile because he's better than anyone I fought. But that's the only chance I have against him, and that's what I will aim to do.
Yeah, we mentioned obviously the headlining and the BT Sports and stuff. You've worked your way through the small hall scene the hard way and onto these bigger stages. What have been some of the more difficult aspects of going through the lower scene, trying to sell tickets, trying to maybe work and fight at the same time? It's not easy.
No, it's definitely not easy. But then if you're starting at the bottom, you don't really know any other way. So you don't really think it's hard at the time because you're in it, doing it, I suppose. If you were on a big contract when you turn pro and then had to go to doing that, then you would find it hard. But I suppose it's like anything. If you think when you're just used to doing something, you're just used to doing it anyway. So the small rule shows were hard and then selling tickets. But I've also been in some brilliant fights and seen some brilliant fights and had some really good nights on the small shows, which I think are good for boxing and also are good for young fighters because you're fighting in small arenas, but people are on top of you, and you learn to deal with that as well. So, I think the small shows are good for boxing.
Final couple of questions, Joe, and we do thank you for your time. What about your training setup, your training regime? Who coaches you?
I'm trained by Jamie Williams at Legends Gym in Dagenham. Nothing out of the ordinary really. We train in the morning, I train at night, twice a day. Nothing different to anything else that anyone else does. Just obviously with my style, I don't overspar. Do a lot of bodysuit, things like that. But yeah, listen, I have to work harder than most because I'm not as skillful as most. But yeah, there's nothing different. I know we know what we're good at and we know what we're not good at. So yeah, we keep it simple down there. But it's a good gym. Everyone cracks on, and there's all levels in there at all times. And it's just a good environment to be around, to be honest.
Yeah, fights on Saturday. We're on Sunday evening now, obviously going into fight week. What were the preparations be like for you during fight week? You know, like sort of taking the weight down, those type of things. How does that work for you?
For me, I don't do a lot fight week. I literally will have a shakeout tomorrow in the gym, nothing heavy, and then really all week I just go for walks and make weight. Really, I don't overdo it. I've had 9 weeks at it, so the last thing I need to do is the week of the fight go at it. So I know I'm going to take a beating on the fight night, so I don't really have to overdo it on the week of the fight. Just make the weight slowly, and then get to the weigh-in, and then after weigh-in, it's the fun bit.
So realistically, Joe, I was going to say about long-term goals and stuff. Do you just keep training, keep going, and just wait for the opportunities and just take it as it comes, basically?
Yeah, listen, I started boxing at 23 years old, so to fight for a British title in the middleweight division is what I always wanted to achieve, and no one would have really given me a prayer doing it. So, if anything, I've achieved what I've set out to do in a British title, but I also got 2 babies, same as everyone else. I'm a dad, I've got to earn a living, and I want to bet on myself with going on. I want to make my kids' life as easy as I can, and if I can do that through boxing, getting bigger fights, so that's what I would do.
Well said, Joe. We do appreciate you coming on tonight and taking the time out, and the very best of luck against Liam Williams on Saturday night. I'm sure you'll do everyone.
My pleasure.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, Lex.
All the best. Good luck, Joe. Cheers.
Ciao, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye now. There's Joe Mullens. Under no illusions. He knows what he's got to do. Aussie, get in there, give his all. We saw the fights with Lee Markham. I think it was Churcher as well, the one that didn't end particularly satisfactorily for both of the guys, but he's just fit, he's strong, he knows he's not going to outbox Liam Williams. He's just got to go in there and give it his best.
Exactly that. And I think, like you said, he's under no illusions. He's not said he's going to go out there and he's going to try and change his style. He's going to go in there, he's going to get his head on Liam Williams' chest and try and rough him about, throw shots. He's got a tremendous style, a really good style to watch, proper fan-friendly. Oh, I mean, the 2 fights with Lee Markham were excellent. Really, really good fights. And it's a big ask for him. It is a big ask. But I think if he can disrupt Liam Williams, that's something Mark Heffron couldn't do. He allowed Liam Williams to get into a rhythm, and Williams well and truly just boxed his head off, and it was a complete schooling. I think there's a bit of needle about this. There was a bit of needle between Heffron and Williams. If Williams stays disciplined, I suspect it will be a similar sort of outcome. If not, and he gets drawn into a fight and a war, then it only suits Joe Mullens. And whilst the fighters may be in for a heavy night, the fans are certainly in for an enjoyable one if these two can lock horns and essentially start teeing off on each other.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Should be good. Well, Andy, I believe you haven't actually seen... I don't know if you've seen Ortiz Hammer yet, have you possibly? Maybe thinking about that one?
No, I haven't seen it. I know you guys said it was a decent enough scrap for guys that size, big fatties or whatever, and that, mate, but I haven't really had the time to get... Well, to be honest, actually, that Sky card would really be... I didn't watch it, so I kind of just stuck to kind of the kind of minor stuff last night. I didn't really kind of bother with the Showtime stuff, so...
Don't worry.
Right, no worries.
Don't worry about it, Andy. We'll come to you on various other things, including the German card as well. Yeah, Ortiz, his big fight was with Deontay Wilder, wasn't it? Reminds me of this Bellew of the week that Declan Graffin threw in, actually. Artur Spilker was saying that he doesn't think that Deontay Wilder hits that hard. He hits hard enough for someone. He made him piss himself, says Declan Graffin. Good point. I'd say that Wilder hits pretty damn hard. But Ortiz, he showed in the first 5 or 6 rounds, I think, if he can get to you, he might cause you some trouble. But after that, I can see him wearing down. And he's very open to the right hand. And you could see someone like a Wilder who did. Joshua as well. Tyson Fury, maybe not so much, but someone really planting that right hand down the pipe and getting rid of Ortiz. I think he's tipped over now, and I think he's possibly close to done. Gabe, did you get to see anything of Ortiz? Did you manage to see the other fight on the card? I downloaded it, but I haven't actually watched it. It was between Brian DeGracia and Eduardo Ramirez. Ramirez knocking out DeGracia in the 9th round. Did you get to see anything of that, Gabe, or anything of the heavyweights? The Christian Hammer?
Yeah, I did watch the heavyweight fight, but I didn't pay much attention to the other fight that was on there. The Ortiz fight, it just didn't look very good. I don't know if he was trying to get rounds or what. I mean, it just seems sluggish and slow.
I think he was struggling a bit, Gabe, at times, to be honest.
Yeah. You know, I think part of it was he didn't expect to have such a live dog in front of him. I don't think that Hammer really went in with the intention to outbox him. I think the whole time he was looking to land a big punch and hope that big punch would be enough to spark him. But he didn't go away easily. Like, he didn't crumble. And I think that either Ortiz was looking to get rounds or he just couldn't get rid of him. And so the fight was, there was some good punches back and forth. Like, I mean, I'll tell the truth. I think it was an okay fight to watch. Like, I don't think there's anything necessarily great about it, but it wasn't as bad as some of the shit that I've seen. So, you know, I thought that Hammer was really looking to land a big punch, and he did quite a few times. He landed some big punches. I just overall, I thought that Ortiz didn't look well, and I don't think it was so much what Hammer was doing. Like, Hammer was there and he was hitting him, he just couldn't put him away. And then he got hit a lot. I mean, he was getting caught pretty regular with a straight right hand from Hammer. So it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't, you know, phenomenal. It was a decent fight to watch, I suppose. But he looked like he struggled because his defense is you know, you've never seen him get hit as often by somebody like Hammer as he did last night. I think myself and probably quite a few other people were expecting him to go in, Ortiz that is, to go in and get rid of Hammer pretty quickly, but it just didn't happen. And so he just looked poor last night. Looked sluggish, looked slow, and kind of seemed to run out of ideas whenever his first few big punches that landed didn't put Hammer out. You know, he kept punching, but just looked a bit disinterested.
Yeah, I think Ortiz thought he was going to go in and probably get rid of Hammer in about 3 or 4 rounds. And the more the fight went on, the more Hammer offered something Ortiz didn't think he had. Then he started to get, not desperate as such, but he thought, right, I'm going to put the foot down and get rid of this guy. And he did it to such an extent, and he got hit to such an extent. I think he started to gas and he started to show vulnerabilities. And he was a bit surprised, as anyone was, that he couldn't get rid of Hammer. And I think that was maybe the crux of his performance. Over in Scotland last night, Jay Byrne got a win over Stephen Sanderson, the British Boxing Board of Control Celtic Super Welterweight title. A few other fights of note on there, including our friend from this week, Lucas Brown, Australian heavyweight, who got a win over Kamil Sokolowski ahead of his next big fight that's coming up. Let's check in with Lucas again, talking to Ben Faruqi, as I mentioned at the top of the hour. And this is him discussing the time he fought the legendary James Toney all those years ago. And, you know, he hadn't got anything to lose, I suppose, Toney, coming in against Lucas Brown in Australia. And all the pressure was on Lucas. He was talking about that fight now.
That's correct, yeah. We fought in Melbourne. And at that point in my career, I was coming up and he was going down, obviously. So I get a lot of flack from people saying, "Oh, it's not the James Toney of his prime," which is fair call because he was a more middleweight rather than a heavyweight. But he's still a completely crafty and knowledgeable person. And for me coming up, it was a perfect way for me to sort of test myself against a very good caliber person. And I won a WBF world title in that fight. So for me, it was very good steps in the right direction.
Certainly was. WBF title. It's a step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. Ozzy, a couple of things from you. First of all, Lucas Brown Sokolowski. Hearing reports, there was a lot of bullshit going around the internet and I wasn't paying complete attention. First of all, before we move on to the rest of the small hall stuff, can you confirm that Brown was dropped in the Sokolowski fight?
He was. It wasn't a heavy knockdown by all accounts, but in the second round, yeah, he was caught off balance and he did indeed touch the canvas.
Okay, a couple of small hall pieces, as we said. Miles Shinkwin lost the fight we were talking about last week to Kurt Garvey for the English light heavyweight title. And also, on the Friday night, Akeem Ennis-Brown, Aussie, going in against Bilal Rekman. I was fast-forwarding through it. It was on IFL TV. I don't know if Box Nation are even going anymore. They were supposed to show these shows. Ennis-Brown looked pretty decent. Rekman, to his credit, I wasn't expecting a great deal from him. I thought he did pretty well. He didn't use his size and reach as well as he could, but it wasn't a bad scrap, actually. So between Shinkwin and Garvey and Ennis-Brown and Rekman, we had some decent small hall action. Yeah,
I think experience paid off for Ennis-Brown. Exactly what we said last week. That we all felt that Ennis-Brown would shade it purely for the fact that he's been there, done it, and done the rounds and the distance against decent level opposition as well with Dara Foley. Went 5 rounds with Chris Jenkins before Cut stopped it. Glenn Foote, Freddie Kiewit. So we all felt that. It's by no means a bad thing for Bilal Rahman. He's got skills. He's definitely got unique attributes as well. And he can come again. He'll learn a hell of a lot more from this than going, say, taking a 10-round fight against, like an Argentinian coming over who he can just box the head off and win comfortably. As for Ennis Brown now, I'd like to see him get some sort of shot at a potential, maybe the winner of Joe Hughes and Robbie Davis Jr., or pick up if Davis Jr. does win. I suspect that he might vacate the British because he'll obviously be holding the European title. Maybe get a shot at that. I think he's done the hard work, Ennis Brown, particularly on these the smaller hall shows as well. Good fighter, got bags of ability. I think deserves a bit of backing now, a bit of support from perhaps one of the bigger promoters, or from where the board mandate him and he does get an opportunity at one of the bigger titles. Again, like we said last week down in London for Mal Shinkwin, Kurt Garvey, this was a competitive fight, a well evenly matched fight. Garvey got that amateur experience. Shinkwin boxed at a better level and has fallen short. And last night it seems like it was extra close on the cards and Kurt Garvey shaved it. I think Shinkwin felt that he did enough to retain the belt. I've not seen it. I don't think there's any way that you can see the Goodwin shows unless someone films them. But no, a couple of rounds in it either way. Wouldn't be shocked if there was some sort of rematch ordered. If not, then Dex Spellman, who is managed by Carl Greaves, is now the mandatory for this fight for Kurt Garvey. So I think we'll have to wait and see what goes on there. Another shout out as well for another small hall, brilliant fight last night, which you can catch on the VIP Boxing YouTube channel. Colin Day against Jordan Ellison. Tremendous 8-rounder. They were locking horns again. Jordan Ellison beat Colin Day. I think it was either the start of last year or the back end of 2017 and caused the upset and took Day's unbeaten record. Day has since gone on a bit of a rebuilding in his career. Beat Tom McGuinness, who boxes out of the No Limits gym, Tom Farrell's teammate in his last fight. And then Day has come up against Ellison again, and it was a draw. So if you can get onto the VIP YouTube channel, watch that. Brilliant 8-rounder. And they seem like two fighters that, that they're just styles just gel perfectly. And I think every fight they have will always be entertaining.
Yeah, just looking at Hakeem Ennis Brown, I'm wondering if he'll end up a bit like an Ian Napper type. He's small, he's ferocious, he's a skillful guy, he can clearly box, but he maybe just lacks that power to get to the highest level, but he will give a lot of good fighters a lot of trouble. I remember Napper, he went in, he beat the likes of Damien Kelly. I think he lost narrowly, wasn't it, to Simone Malagrotto up at European level, and Ennis Brown looks like he could be in that same mould, skillful, tidy, but just hasn't got the power to quite do it. I think... didn't Napper beat Lee Haskins as well at one point, or Martin Power? I'm starting to get confused back in the day, but he was a very good fighter, just he didn't quite have the power. I'm wondering if Ennis Brown might also fall under that, same stool if he goes on up in class. Andy, we're going to move on to Germany in a minute. Just before we do so, friend of the pod, he's our friend anyway now. He could be the Bolivian heavyweight champion, Saul Farah, but we just don't know.
No.
Because I'm looking on BoxRec, not mentioned. You've tried to get in touch with him. Do we have any Saul updates?
We don't, mate. So he's not responding to me either. So either he got knocked out in his intensive care, or he just doesn't want to respond to me. So we'll find out eventually. Or this we'll find out over the next couple of days.
Non-responsive. Talking of the heavyweights, couple of heavyweights in action in Germany last night. I know you were all over it. Tom Schwartz, 23-0, defeating Christian Kristacic. He's 17-1. Was this a case of Christian, we'll call him, maybe an inflated record, and Schwartz just too much for him?
It's simple as that, mate. You've heard me say that Schwartz isn't all that great, but he just blasted the guy out of there 2 rounds. I actually missed that fight live, actually, because it wasn't really shown. I managed to get an official link for it, but it didn't actually show any of the undercard on live TV, so I have no idea how these, as my mate Lewis was saying, I have no idea how the German scene are actually going to try and build any potential prospects. I mean, I think you had something like 4 or 5 fighters on the undercard who were undefeated. Gary Hyde's fighter was on there as well. You know, the Moroccan Mohamed Rabi.
Yes, I saw that.
He was fighting an 8-rounder there last night as well against the pole fighter.
Oh, Djakovic, wasn't he the guy who fought Kell Brook years ago?
Yeah, years and years ago, mate.
Yeah. He's got 21 losses on the record now, hasn't he?
Yeah, something gentleman knowing that eye, so I think he got well outpointed. But if anybody's want to see the fights, if you go to the MDR YouTube channel, you'll see it there. As for Caballero, Rudenko, it was okay. As I said, we said it last week, it was a good step up for Caballero. He came in, started pretty well, and even started hurting Rudenko to the body, dropping with, I think it was a right hand at the body actually. And you can see at this point that Rudenko was, he looked gassed, he was all in it at this point, and you think to yourself, right, okay, I think it was about the 7th round or the 8th round that Rudenko got dropped. He just never seemed to press it forward. I was actually a bit disappointed at how he actually then see it out. Okay, he won the fight. There's absolutely no problem with that. He was wide on the, I think it was something like 170, 111 across the board or whatever and that, but I'd expect a wee bit more. But obviously didn't maybe want to work on a few things, maybe didn't want to take shots or whatever and that. He's electing to kind of box move. This is how he's going to be. He's no a big hitter. Which is going to be a problem in that. So there's absolutely no rush for this guy either to be getting frog matched to world title levels at any time soon. If this promoter Stenforth is actually going to be promoting these two guys, I didn't know why he just kind of mix them together at some point for a European title. None of them are ready for like the top dogs, so they're going to be fighting guys like this German-based Bosnian or the Croat that fought Schwartz there last night. He's just going to get more fighters like that. He'll probably got a few Georgians coming in that as well. But as I say, Caballero, it was okay, but I expected more, especially when you get your opponent hurt. You can see that he's physically tired. Just didn't press it. It was a bit disappointing actually. As I say, I wanted to see more from him, and what can we say? He won at the end of the day. This is what his 3rd successful defence of the title now. So fair play to the guy. I think he should remain there for a wee bit longer as well.
Yes, let's stick on the heavyweight theme, Hater Dave. I know you want to go on to the Peterborough card, but you're just going to have to hold fire. We will get to that very shortly. Marvelous Mendo, friend of the pod, shout out to him, threw in a question last week, Dave. I'll come to you with part 1. I'll go to Gabe, our friend over there in Texas, with part 2. So he's talking about AJ against Jarrell Miller. Wanted to make sure that Femi AJ Joshua, Dave, gets on the list for going all the way over to US, which is where you live, like Bertie Big Bollocks, only to have some 300-pound man nearly push his hand through his chest, call his mom a fat oil spill, accuse him of taking PEDs, state Fury is the real champion, tell him he ducked Dillian White and totally disrespect him in front of the media by talking over him when he tried to answer questions. I bet he wishes, says Marvelous Mendo, his mate Eddie hadn't set up this payday for the softest heavyweight puncher in the division. Well, that's what AJ called him anyway. Doesn't sound like a great way to promote your own public fooling fight, says Mendo. I thought that was it. He makes some interesting points, Dave. It was funny the way we saw this IFL video, I think it was, AJ saying Jarrell Miller's shit, and you're thinking, you could just imagine Eddie jumping in the background going, oh, buy the pay-per-view, guys.
Yeah, I mean, this has been embarrassing in a lot of ways. I mean, first of all, that the whole poll thing, like, my next fight is going to be a poll, and whoever wins the poll, the fans will decide who they'll fight next. Okay, this guy wasn't even on it. And although I don't think much of him as a fighter, and as I don't believe his ceiling is very high, I've been loving Jarrell Miller's out of the ring antics. I think he's actually owned AJ in the pre-fight because he's had the balls to bring up these things that other opponents haven't, probably because they've been paid off, or just maybe it's been off limits in the contract. Who know, like I can see Eddie or Matchroom putting in the contract, don't talk about the roids, don't talk about how he's fought shit, don't talk about how this fight means nothing, don't mention Tyson Fury's name, but this guy's willing to do it. He's willing to say that Femi's a fake. So I'm really enjoying this. And also you have to love how the fact that Matchroom and Joshua in a way have been forced into this position because they have to come over to America and attempt to build his brand here with the DAZN subscriptions. But they've also had to settle for this guy, and they sort of have no choice but to stand there and take it. So they have to try and sell this. Well, I think he's actually pissed AJ off, and that's why AJ's called him the lightest puncher in the division, because he's actually getting under his skin. So I think that so round one goes to the Americans here. That said, I don't expect round two to go to Jarrell Miller, but it's been funny while it lasts. And I don't see even like best case scenario for Joshua here. I mean, he's going to most likely knock out Jarrell Miller, look probably pretty good doing it. But best case scenario, he still takes the hit of not having a particularly good win or well-recognized win in the States and having all this shit talked about him. So it's a rough intro to these shores for Joshua to start things off.
A lot of good feedback, Dave, for your impressions. They're not too fussed on your American accent, though. They think that's a bit shit.
Well, I was meant to be a European.
Good man, you're doing a good job. Right, Gabe, I don't know what you're like for accents, but this is part 2 of Marvellous Mendo. Moving on from part 1, naturally. It may be hard to imagine, but question for the guys. Can you see a world, Gabe, when the AJ versus Fury fight happens in the UK, but AJ is being cast as the bad guy and Fury the good guy? That would be some turnaround for Team Fury.
I don't see how it could go any other way. I mean, yeah. How are they going to make Tyson Fury the bad guy? He to me, from what I see, is he's a beloved figure by the people that love the sport, by people in general, by more people than Joshua. AJ is not going to do anything to change that. Matter of fact, I think he's already turning, that stone over with the villainous type person out of the fight because of the things that he's saying right now in the build up to this steaming pile of shit that's going to be on the zone with Big Baby. I don't see how it'll be any other way. I mean, how are they going to spin it? I really don't understand any way, shape, form, or fashion that it'll be in any other way. So I'm kind of thinking the opposite of the question. At this point, like the only way that I think it would happen would be for it to flip the other way to where AJ is viewed as a good guy, because I think people are starting realize that it's all a bunch of nonsense, that, he didn't fight Wilder. He didn't fight Fury. I mean, people know that. The only people that don't realize that are those ones that are on Twitter and everywhere else and all the other depths of depravity that are those Matchroom fan people. I don't have a clue. To me, that question is completely off base because I think it would have to be the other way around. I don't know.
No doubt the AJ Fury Wilder talk will come up again during the rest of the show. Let's move on, though, to the big stuff, the more important stuff. Peterborough. A bit of Frank Smith on the mic this week. Eddie Hearn as well, Andy. We had a message in for Bellew.
Man, hey, you just know he's been spawned next to some sort of fucking Eddie Hearn plant or something like that. Eh? My fuck, well, Andy, you've got to go out with a fucking suit jacket and a turtleneck on nowadays to be a promoter, eh?
Well, I have a little clip of him, actually. Rob Cheshire sent it in earlier, and he's noticed a bit of inconsistency when it comes to the ticket sales. Let's see if we can play this, and if people can hear it. At first, it's Frank, then it's Eddie Hearn talking about how many tickets Jordan Gill has sold. So Rob Cheshire sent this in. Let's have a listen.
Very excited to try a new market here in Peterborough. We're over 2,500 tickets sold, and this man to my right here himself has sold 1,200 of those. So I think he deserves a round of applause just for that.
It's good. We've got about 2,500 here tonight. Jordan Gill sold 926 tickets on his own. It's a big night for him.
Levels indeed. So 300 less tickets, Andy, they were saying, with between the two of them.
I was on DAZN last night, so I don't know what the Americans thought about it, but I did take a snapshot and send it to Frank Warren and see what he thought about it. All those empty seats dressed up as people,
Well, what did you see of it then, Andy? We had Lee Wood winning, Jordan Gill, Richard Riakporhe, Anthony Sims Jr.
I can just tell you right now, that card last night, I told you last week, I wasn't watching it. I was going to say I didn't watch any. Actually, it was a lie because I actually had it on the background before I put the football on. I ended up watching the Rome Derby actually, but I switched it on, and one of the Africans got knocked out like 2 rounds or something like that. But as I said last week, this card was an absolute atrocity. So the least said about it, the better. That's all I'm going to say about it. Absolute atrocity.
No problem. I'm sure Rapping Rob Kelly, who has just joined us on the line, didn't see a great deal of it either. We did have a question in, though, Ozzy, which I thought I would hit you up with, if indeed I can find it at all. It's on the old phone here somewhere. It was regarding Anthony Sims Jr. David Peach threw it in, Ozzy. He was talking about Anthony Sims Jr., who defeated Matteo Veron on the undercard. I think it was about a 6th round knockout. Why is American Anthony Sims Jr. fighting on a card in Peterborough? How is this helping his career? I'm trying to work it out, but can't seem to get a good answer myself. Any thoughts, Ozzy, for David as to why Anthony was on the card? I suppose they're splitting between cards, between shows along the world. They've just got to slot them in anyway. He mustn't be a ticket seller, Sims.
No, I can only think it's a case of getting him active. I believe that he's had a relatively slowish career from what... that's saying... I read about an interview, actually, and it said how he was extremely inactive before he joined... right, so it was 2017 where he only had the 1 fight. He had 3 last year when he signed with Matchroom USA. I can only assume, again, it's just to get him active. He's out again next month as well. And I think he's again out in a couple of months after that. I mean, it's interesting because he's 18-0 now. So he's filling this record. But in reality, I'm just having a look at it now and it's just padded garbage. Padded rubbish. I mean, there's nobody of note on there whatsoever from what I can see, just scanning through relatively quickly. So it's going to be interesting to see. Is it light heavyweight? It looks like he can probably make 168. I mean, he was 169 pounds what he boxed at yesterday, and I can't see him trying to make any sort of weight there. So it's a possibility he will go down to super middleweight, but no, I'm guessing it's what giving him experience fighting abroad, as they would, when Brits go abroad as well. But I mean, a few sites in Peterborough you might want to see as well. That's the only thing I can assume.
Yeah, we'll go on to the undercard in a minute. Just before we do so, Rapping Rob Kelly, I was going to bring you in on Erislandy Lara against Brian Castano, but I thought you might want to add something on the Peterborough card. Now, before you dismiss me, James Bairstow has found a message on Twitter, which is doubling up as a Bellew of the week here, from Ian Brennan. So before you think this is a bad card, he said, I would pay money to watch Jordan Gill shadow box for 12 rounds. That guy is fluid. Thumbs up.
What's that money to burn then?
If that doesn't convince you to get in on that Peterborough card, I don't know what does, Rob.
Well, however you want to get your rocks off, get them off. Feel sorry for Tommy. He got caught. Big shot. Didn't recover. This is the kind of thing that we were talking about a couple of weeks back. I just thought of him again today when we were talking about Dave Allen getting all these chances. And you know some of the fighters, and you see them behind the scenes training on Instagram, constantly in camp, looking for an opportunity. When they do, they're kind of normally on the B side. So it just gives a kind of puts things in perspective. But I'm sure he'll be back anyway. I didn't see much else of the card, man. I wasn't going to watch that shite. Especially when there was a night of Cuban boxing to behold.
Yes.
You know the way I always rep for the Cubanos. So when the thoughts of Luis Ortiz and Erislandy Lara puts everybody to sleep, I was wide awake, 4 a.m. taking them in live. No, I wasn't.
Is it just me, Rob, or is Lara more exciting these days? Maybe because he doesn't move as much. I don't remember him being this interesting to watch, or maybe it was just me.
Yeah, I think he was a little... Well, I think there's signs of regression creeping in there. One of the things I noticed the most was maybe that he wasn't on the jab as much as he normally was. He used to be killer jab once, who get on his feet, change position, do it again. But I love watching Lara. I love watching the Cuban style. I love that kind of 1-2 and then the kind of almost bolo punch uppercut to follow it. Castano was impressed with him, and he kind of put it on the money last week. I said it was going to be a big step up for him, but that's a great result for him even at this stage of his career. I kind of had Lara winning it, but that's me. That's the way I score fights. I thought a lot of Castano's work was arm punching, and when Lara puts the earmuffs on, maybe Castano might have varied a bit. But he's only a young guy. He's a bit green still. I think he could definitely go up I think he could go up the weights up to 60. Like, thick young fella. Do I want to see it again? I don't know. Like, we're going to have to see it again. Is it for an eliminator or a title? I don't know what the situation is there. But Lara, I think, has shown signs. He's on the slide, and he's a bit older, but he's not as old as Luis Ortiz, who kind of gave Christian Hammer a drubbing. Nothing to get excited about in that one either. Like,
how old are you, Rob? How old are you?
4-0, 40-0.
You're older than Luis Ortiz.
Yeah.
According to official statistics.
Yeah, pull the other one has fucking bells on it. I am older than Luis Ortiz. Fuck me. But you know, whatever. He's there. He's competing. Whatever age he is, he's still competing as the top heavyweights. And AJ kind of got backed into a corner on the Breakfast Club when one of the hosts said to him, "I don't think you could beat Wilder, Fury, or Luis Ortiz." And he said AJ kind of got a bit phased by the question and said, "Well, if I don't make the fight with Fury or Wilder next, then Luis Ortiz is next." So Luis Ortiz was all over that in the post-fight last night, saying that AJ is going to look like a pussy if he doesn't fight him next. But somehow I can't really see that one either. Like, maybe though, maybe. How's the likeometer tonight, dickheads? How we?
If you're liking what you're hearing from Rob Kelly, everybody hit like in the chat.
Hit like in the chat, assholes. Right, but that's that on that card, Steve. Really.
Excellent. That's all I've got for you then. Ozzy, yeah, let's get back onto this Peterborough card. I don't want to deprive anybody of this expert analysis. Rob said something there about the Riat Poore Tommy McCarthy fight. Maybe I've got the blinkers on because I've known Tommy for so many years, way back to when he was an amateur and that. And Rob said he can come again. But you know what? I'm starting to worry about Tommy. Can he come again? Is the punch resistance there? Is his time starting to slip by? Maybe he'll get a chance, Ozzy, as an opponent and have to upset the odds. But the prospect stroke contender stage is maybe coming to an end for him.
I think exactly that. It was an evenly matched fight and one that I probably favoured Tommy in, knowing the skills he's got. But look, I thought he was ahead in the fight. It was the early stages, and he just got caught. It's one of the punches that catch you high. They're the ones that really do the damage. I mean, clearly scrambled it, clearly thinking. Riat Poore is massively heavy-handed, raw, but when you can dig like he can, you're always going to be a threat. For Tommy McCarthy now, I think it's a case of where does he want to go? In reality, he was an opponent in this fight. He had to travel, come over. Does he attempt one more rebuilding stage? I mean, he lacks that standout victory, doesn't he? I mean, I think best win probably John Lewis Dickinson or something like that. Suffered defeat to Matty Askin, which seems an absolute age ago now. Again, suffered from inactivity. I think we'll have to wait and see. I think he will keep going. It's just a case of what is he going to do now? Maybe a couple of rebuilding fights, and again, try and get an opportunity on the road and look to take it from there. Do you want me to go on about the rest of the undercard, or
feel free to talk about whatever you want, because I don't think anybody else will chime in anyway.
Well, I mean, in reality, for a Saturday night fight night show, it was awful, absolutely awful. And if it's a case of no, we'll stick Next Gen in front of it just to try and, like it's a case of like a development show, then it's bollocks. These Next Gen shows were basically sold originally as that additional midweek Friday night fights. Now they're taking up valuable time on Saturday night fight night cards, and the show was exactly what it was. Some of the younger prospects in against Puddings. The best fight on the card was Riat Poore against McCarthy in terms of being evenly matched. Lee Wood was against an overmatched African guy who just didn't look any sort of commendable opponent for the Commonwealth title. And again, that's becoming more of a travesty week in, week out now. We're seeing just these guys plucked from obscurity, somehow worming the way to like mandatory challenges for Commonwealth titles. And the belt just sadly, in my opinion, just doesn't hold the same stature. I mean, Abraham Osai Bonsu, who the fuck is this? Where did they even pluck this guy from? I mean, we've seen these guys before, and they come over and they just fold like a deck chair. Horrendous. And taking nothing away from Lee Wood, congratulations, he's the Commonwealth champion. But in reality, is Abraham Osai Bonsu Commonwealth level? No. As for Jordan Gill, it was an impressive stoppage, and one that I didn't think he would produce maybe that early on. That saying, Emmanuel Dominguez was brought in to lose, he didn't really pose any sort of threat to Gil. Gil's a talented boxer.
Looks good, doesn't he?
He does, yeah, he does. Not taking anything away. Like I said, the stoppage was good and he impressed and he probably exceeded expectations in the manner he did it. That saying, Jordan Gill is better than opponents like this. I would rather see him fight Ryan Walsh than someone like this Emmanuel Dominguez, because Ryan Walsh will ask a lot more questions than what Dominguez did last night. It's going to be interesting to see whether they match him now, because he's obviously picked up one of these international WBA belts. It gives him some sort of world ranking. Are they just going to bypass and look to go to European level? I mean, they were talking about Kiko Martinez last night. That's a good fight. I think that will show where Gil is at. If he does a real number and can get Martinez out of there, he's really got something about him. Or if he struggles, there's nothing wrong with that. If he can get the win, it's just a case of slowing the train down and just taking a couple more learning fights and not racing to the top level or fringe, like European fringe world level immediately. But as a whole, the card, it's just garbage. It's rubbish. And I mean, I got sent a brilliant tweet, and it was a case of people bang on about how British boxing is booming this year. Yeah, in 2019, the shows that have been on, including pay-per-views, have been extremely below par. I'm just going to try and find it now. So televised UK cards for the first 3 months of 2019, this is from Paul Winner 5, are abysmal, considering it's supposed to be booming. Sergio Garcia, Ted Cheeseman, I think everybody agreed, bar the main event, a terrible card. Last night's JD card, extremely poor, horrendous. The Charlie Edwards show, which is I think in a couple of weeks, is certainly a step in the right direction, as is the Liam Smith, Sam Eggington card in Liverpool, probably Matchroom's best card to date. The James DeGale, Chris Eubank, on paper, the main event was a good fight in reality, but the show as a whole was pretty poor. You've got the Copper Box show next week of Frank Warren's, which it's okay. A couple of British titles on there. Daniel Dubois in a step up, that's okay. And you've got the rearranged Leicester show, Sam Bowen against, it's going to be Jordan McCrory, but again, there's a delay on the announcement there. But Paul Winner's correct. We talk about this huge boom of boxing in the UK, and in reality, those shows I've read out, they're nothing better than what was going on 3 or 4 years ago. There's all that people seem to be talking about now is percentages, splits, and what fighters get paid. It's rare that we're actually talking about the good shows, because, quite frankly, there is a lack of them. I mean, Matchroom are focusing a lot of time abroad. BT haven't had a show yet. ITV are dipping the toes in, but the first show was a pay-per-view. In reality, it's pretty underwhelming, to be honest, and I think we're going to need a real big second quarter of the year to get it where it is booming again, and we're talking about the fights and not how much money people take home after the fight and what they've worked for.
Big time. I definitely second that. And there's a lot of stuff in the especially in the heavyweight climate, that's after bothering me this week. I didn't like Tyson Fury going on this tour where he's speaking and he's talking about the Wilder. He's literally dining out on that fight. Like, the record books are going to show he didn't win it. I thought he won the fight, but look, it goes back to what I said last week about him saying now that he wants to be a star, and we're not getting Wilder next, despite what the noise was made. So, if AJ and all had done that, I'd be the first one out to criticise him. So I can't kind of hold Fury. I said I didn't begrudge him signing with the network. They know they're not making this fight next, then it's going to be Parker. And I'm trying to find out, because I know my dad knows something to do with Parker, so I'm trying to find out, is that fight being made? But from what I'm being told, Parker's next for Tyson Fury, which is a terrible opponent, absolutely shocking opponent for the guy that's supposed to be the number one heavyweight. And then you hear Dillian White this week, he's talking about he's wanting to fight a Coley, who's doing very well sexually, dating the female rapper Miss Banks. So Coley, doing well sexually, like Arislandi Lara, who won't be too disappointed with his draw because of the size of the arse on his misses. But no, I'm not liking what I'm hearing. I think Oz is right. Like, these fights are coming further away. Dillian White looks like he's going to get frozen out. We probably will get Lawrence Tocoli pay-per-view on Sky. Fury's fighting fucking Parker. Wilder looks like he's going to fight Brazil, and AJ's fighting Big Baby Miller. So it's not exactly exciting times, is it?
No, maybe in Britain it's not, but over in Italy, the Matchroom Italy link-up seems to be going quite well at the moment. We have a show coming up next Friday evening, some real big names, including Jamie Cox on that one. The main event appears to be...
Sorry, Steve, don't mean to cut across you, but if they don't have Mauro Ranallo and Paulie Malignaggi as the commentators on that card, I'm not interested. Mamma mia, I'm not interested.
Mauro, talking about stanzas and sessions... Yeah, no, it's not. We've got Vicia Travato against Erica Cruz Hernandez for the vacant WBC silver female featherweight title. Daniele Scardina, that's a man, 15-0, going in against Henrique Kalen for an IBF international shot. And also Maxim Prodan, who's 15-0-1, going in against Steve Jamoy for the vacant International Boxing Federation international welterweight title. So good times over there on Sky Italy. At least they're having a good time of it anyway. Let's move on. Last Lucas Brown clip that I have of the evening, talking about his next fight. You think he's going to be fighting Dave Allen? He was confirming who he's going to be fighting when. Let's have a listen. Ben was talking to him during the week.
Yes, 100%. I've signed the contract, and the contract was for April 13, and that was when AJ was going to be fighting at Wembley, etc. I've got confirmation today that it will now be April 20 at the O2 Arena. So it's still Dave Allen. I'm extremely excited about where the career's going already this year. I'm in the condition that I should be, and yeah, everything's falling into place the way it should.
There you go, Dave. Everything's falling into place. Lucas Brown against Dave Allen, April the 20th in the O2 Arena in London. You looking forward to that one, Dave?
I mean, I'm not going to watch it live, but it has the makings of probably a good little brawl. I don't know. I guess I would right now favor Brown very slightly, just on the power edge and experience edge at the higher level. Or I guess just they both fought at a high level in opposition, but Brown's had slightly more success at it. Although I guess I mean Allen didn't get stopped by White, so I don't know. It's gonna be a sloppy pub brawl. And could be mildly entertaining. I guess I'm going to slightly favor Brown, but it's not going to be a walkover. I don't think either one, unless Brown's totally shot and he might get smashed, because I wouldn't be surprised. He clearly wasn't living the life. Got real fat, got smashed by White, then cut a lot of weight, and that could take a toll. You never know how a guy's going to come back from that. Apparently, he didn't look particularly great last night, so I didn't watch it. I'm sure as I'm not going to watch it, but whatever, doesn't matter to me.
There you go, Dave, selling Brown against Allen marginally better than AJ selling his fight against Jarrell Miller. Gabe, we'll be coming to you very shortly on this fight in Verona, New York, featuring Bivol, Hooker, Johnson, Kuzmin. I might surprise people and say that I don't think it sounds like a bad card. Just before we do so, Rob, have you been all over this Stephen Espinoza, Eddie Hearn Twitter beef? The contract was sent, said Espinoza. Matchroom saw it. Contract said Sky got the UK rights. Eddie Hearn jumped in. Stone cold lies, said Eddie. They went backwards and forwards. It's always entertaining seeing these guys in suits, multi-millionaires and what have you, having a bit of a back and forward down in the gutter with us boys.
Well, all I can say is, like I said, we call it like we see it. So I just have to give him Fury debt for this Parker fight, which is bullshit. But you have to give Eddie bullshit when it looks like he's lying. And all I can say is that both sides make their cases public in situations like this. And from what I can hear, apart from absolute Matchroom stands, nobody believes this shit from Eddie Hearn. Like, they definitely had that contract. Everybody's seen it. The 50 million was real. And they didn't take the fight. Simple as that. They're fighting Big Baby Miller. So whatever way you slice it and dice it, it comes down to the fact that from what I can see from reputable sources, it looks like the offer was real. You're telling us it wasn't real. And you're skipping and dancing and ducking and diving like a prime Parnell Whitaker, trying to avoid the question and tell the truth and just say he didn't take the fight because it was too risky for you. You don't want to lose out on your 10-year plan. Simple as that. Wilder was all wrong for AJ. Unpredictable, big power as we saw. Could have just wrecked it all. So They didn't want the fight, and it's simple and plain to see for me anyway.
There you go, the official voice, Rob Kelly there, laying it down for everybody exactly what's going on. Rob's on the call, so is Ozzy Smith. We've also got Gabe, we've got Andy, we've got Dave, the hater low back. This is episode 312 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Plenty of Bellew of the weeks to come, questions, previews, all sorts of other bits and pieces. First of all, before we move on to you, Gabe, a quick retraction and apology, everybody. A few weeks ago, we were talking about Gary Russell Jr. and why he doesn't fight so often, and someone mentioned that Russell Jr. had Crohn's disease. It was a point that I repeated a couple of weeks ago, but it wasn't actually true. Russell's team has been contacted. He doesn't have Crohn's disease at all, so the reason for him not fighting, possibly bad hands, we don't know, but his team were contacted. He doesn't have that particular illness, and there are issues around licenses if you have something like that. So Russell Jr. doesn't have that. So whatever the problem with him is, it's not Crohn's disease anyway, so I just wanted to lay that out bare. Gabe, let's get back onto the action, shall we? Saturday, March the 9th. I actually think this is a good card. I'm going to give them credit for this. And I'm not trolling. I think this is a pretty decent card. Dimitri Bivol against Joe Smith Jr., WBA light heavyweight title. Maurice Hooker against Mikel Lepierre. Never even heard of him, but he's only got one draw, no losses in 22 fights. Callum Johnson, Shawnee Monaghan could be a decent scrap. And then Sergei Kuzmin didn't look great against David Price at times. Got the job done. And against one of my favourite heavyweights, the White James Toney himself. He's too fat, but he won't move down to cruiserweight. Philadelphia's Joey DeVecco. He's got a lot of skills, this guy. Enjoy watching him. Bivol, Joe Smith, Hooker, Lepierre, Johnson, Monaghan, Gabe, Kuzmin against DeVecco. I'm giving Eddie, DiBella, Guardia, Duva, everybody else who's involved. I'm looking forward to this. Gabe?
Sorry, didn't unmute myself. Yeah, I actually think this is going to be a pretty good card. Maurice Hooker, been on the road, winning some fights. I think that's good. I always like to see a guy like him that's willing to do some traveling and go about his career that way. So, you know, I think if you asked me previously about Maurice Hooker, I would say, well, yeah, I don't know. I think he's growing into his own. And I'm excited to see this fight because I want to see him continue to progress. So I'm excited about that one. I think the Bivol and Smith Jr. fight is gonna be fairly decent. So we're gonna see if Joe Smith Jr. can work his way inside and try to win the fight that way. Because if he sits out, he's going to get his ears boxed off, and it's going to be a long night. And if that does happen, it won't be particularly all that fun to see. But I think Joe Smith, people look at him as a subpar fighter. He doesn't have that real great pedigree that a lot of professionals have, where they win a Olympic medal and they win a lot of amateur tournaments and those kind of things. And so I think Joe Smith Jr. gets overlooked by people that consider that to be a mark of excellence. As we've seen before previously, that just because a guy doesn't go to the Olympics doesn't make him a poor fighter. I will be blunt with my assertion that I don't think Joe Smith Jr. is a wonderful technician, but I think he's an apt technician, and I think he's a guy that with what technical ability he has and a little bit of fire in his belly, and that blue collar mentality that he's got, I think he can make this fight pretty interesting. I enjoy watching his fights, and so I hope to see him put on a good show. So, and I don't really have anything against Bivol either. That should be a good fight. I don't see any reason why it can't be a good fight. I think there will be some spots where Bivol will outquick him and will box him a little bit. But then I think Joe Smith Jr. is going to have his moments of success as well. The rest of the card, I mean, there's nothing really that's too terrible on it, I don't feel like. I mean, everything that's on the card is watchable. And all the way down top to bottom, it looks like it's going to be a pretty fun card. I'm not sure exactly that they on the zone, they pretty much put the whole card top to bottom, don't they?
Pretty much, Gabe. You're going to get everything right from, the lower guys all the way up to the top. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Would you rather have a bit more quality, as in HBO showing only a couple of fights, or a bit more quantity? Do you want to see the whole thing?
No, fuck that. Give me the whole card. Fuck that. Give me the whole card.
Go and watch that Peterborough card last night and say the same thing from 6 o'clock on Facebook, Gabe.
I'm excited about the way that they're doing this stuff. I like the way that they're putting on the whole card, top to bottom. It's fun to see it. You get a little bit of every kind of action that's possible. You get some guys that are green and are looking to prove themselves. You get some guys that are on the way up and who are looking to get into contention. You've got the guys that are already in contention trying to stay there. And then you've got your world title fights, which is the top of the top. And so to me, I mean, it doesn't really get, in my mind, much better than a full card like this. If I'm not watching this card, what the fuck else am I going to be doing? You know what I mean? Like that's the way I look at it.
What would you be doing, Gabe? Seriously speaking, what would you be doing if you didn't watch this card? Any options?
Waiting for the fucking card to start, man.
Not out shooting rattlesnakes or anything, no?
No, it's too cold for rattlesnakes here. It's going to be goddamn 15 degrees tomorrow.
Oh dear, poor you.
I think it's supposed to be cold all week. Anyway, it's not normal here. Like right now, it's, I don't know, somewhere 40 degrees, 30 degrees, something like that. But it's going to be cold as shit tomorrow. So no, the rattlesnakes aren't ready to come out just quite yet. But I mean, I like it. If I can get the whole card, why not watch the whole card? Why not get to see some guys that I probably wouldn't ordinarily get to see if we were talking about HBO? Look, I think the thing with HBO is they strap themselves for cash towards the end, because if you look back previously, the cards were bigger. They had more fights on them. They showed 3-4 fights on a card. They didn't show the main event only. You weren't relegated to just getting one small piece of the card, of the action. And I like that. I like the fact that we're going to get to see the whole card top to bottom. I've only watched a few of them on the Zone. I haven't watched every card that they put on, because they put on a lot of fights and there's a lot of content there, which I appreciate. But this card, back to the card in particular, I think it's a good card. I don't see anything wrong with it at all. It seems like there's quite a bit of stuff coming up next weekend. I'm sorry if I took over your spot there. But you've got some fights on ESPN, I think. I don't know if it's going to be on ESPN Plus or ESPN. And then there's some out in Mexico, which I think are going to be on TV, which I don't know if you guys can get them, but we'll get them. And then there's some more on I don't know, is it Showtime next week or Fox, the Porter fight?
Fox in it, I think, is it?
I'm not sure. I can't keep track of where everything's going, but you get the point. Like, there's a ton of stuff to watch, and I can appreciate every bit of it. So I'm excited to see it. But I think this probably, to me, is the card of the weekend next week, from Friday, Saturday, and on. I just don't see any other card, to me, being as much fun.
Andy, I know we've spoke before about Bivol, Joe Smith Jr. I don't think you were too fussed on it, but looking at the Maurice Hooker fight, he had a couple of really good wins last year. I thought Hooker against Flanagan and then against Saucedo. They're clearly bringing him in a bit of a pudding here. Mm-hmm. This gentleman, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's 33 years old, Mikel Lespierre. He's based in Brooklyn, originally from Trinidad. I've had a look at his record, Andy, and it doesn't really bear up, to be honest. The best win is against a 12-0 Noel Murphy. Now, this is the guy fighting for a world title. 5 fights ago, he was boxing a debutant in Panama. 7 fights ago, he was boxing Rafael Contreras, who was 0-9. The reason why Contreras was 0-9 is because he'd been beaten by Lespierre in the previous fight when he was 0-8. So this is the type of guys they've been feeding this Lespierre. So Hooker's going to absolutely annihilate him, I think.
Yeah, you would think so, mate. So I think we just put a line through that fight, in all honesty. Johnson Monaghan might be a decent enough fight. I have got a slight issue with Bivol Smith. Again, Smith's just been plucked out because he is in like the top 10, the WBA rankings. I know he can hit a bit and stuff, so maybe Bivol's got something to watch out there. But at the same time, I just we want to see. When Hurd got this new deal and that, he was talking about making these big fights at light heavyweight, Bivol, Beterbiev, and Gvozdyk and all these fighters and that, and nothing that's going to come to fruition. I had a look at the rankings earlier on the day before we went live and stuff, and unless Bivol's going to get a unification fight at some point, he's going to get called for a rematch with Sullivan Barrera at some point, unless Marcus Brown gets the call for the mandatory slot. Boas is high up that list, I believe, as well. Bellew, Jack, I like to see that fight. But other than that, I mean, those WBA rankings again are awful, and just to kind of drop it in there. I know he's beat him already, but John Pascal props up the top 15. That is bad, man.
I told you about Pascal, didn't I, before, Andy? He had that knockout win over that unbeaten guy, and that's going to give him a bit more longevity now. Fake longevity, because I think he's done. But by beating him, they can say, oh, he'd done that. He went the 12 with Dimitri Bivol. I think Pascal, is sort of on ropey territory now.
He is. I mean, he has... Okay, even at 168, he struggled to make the weight and stuff. So, in hard fights, the Carl Froch fight was it was a good fight. It was tough going though. He's had injuries in fights. Remember we mentioned this a couple of weeks back in that the Romanian fighter maybe dislocated his shoulder a couple of times during the fight.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, it kind of went in that kind of rough kind of, it was absolutely a bit of a dirty fight that Chad Dawson fight in that as well. A lot of heads going in there. If I remember rightly, that fight maybe got stopped in a cut if as well. If I remember rightly, Hopkins was, especially the first fight actually, was kind of tough going. Especially the latter half. Booty again, okay, won the fight, but it was kind of heavy going. And then the beating that Kovalev gave him, and that in between those two Kovalev beatings that he fought, was it the Cuban, Big Gonzalez? Again, that fight.
I forgot about that one.
He lost that fight, in my opinion. Again, it was another tough fight. So as you say, he needs to call it a day before. He shouldn't need the money. I mean, the guys, him and Booty, for example, they were kind of like the standard bearers for the Canadian French-speaking boxing scene. So he was a big popular guy in that. So he should have the money. I just hope he's not coming back purely for the cash.
I wouldn't have thought so. I don't think he knows what else to do with himself. He must have made money, as Andy said. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Vibrant chat tonight. Tosh is in there. Don McNamara, George Rodriguez, MB, all the usual faces as well. No sign of Chukwu, everybody. I will alert you as soon as we have a sighting of Jason Chukwu. Nothing just yet, unfortunately. Right, where shall we go? Ozzy, let's go on to you. A few points of interest. Michael McKinson's boxing Ryan Kelly next Saturday evening, which could be decent. Like the look of McKinson, 15-0 now, had a good win over Sammy McNess. He's had some good wins over in Belfast. I think he has some kind of base there as well. Demon Nicholson over in Maryland. He's fought... Who did he fight? I think it was Jesse Hart. He might have fought before. He's gone against another Jesse anyway. Big Jesse Nicklow. So that might be interesting. More to the point, Ozzy, tell me about this Steve Wood card. Reece Cartwright against Jack Cullen, English title it is rather, English middleweight title. Also on the undercard, Muhammad Ali. Don't get too excited. It's not the real one. It's 3-0 super welterweight Muhammad Ali. Also Jack Flatley's on as well. Another decent card from Steve Wood, Oz.
Yeah, sadly, the Cartwright-Cullen fight is actually off. Cartwright withdrew a couple of weeks ago. So
a couple of weeks. I'm on top of things as usual.
No, well, BoxRec's not been updated. Cartwright pulled out, about 2 weeks ago now, maybe a bit less, citing injury. So Cullen, I think, I'm presuming they've not got an opponent yet. He was pretty pissed off, to be honest. He started going in on Cartwright, saying he knew this was going to happen. Spoke to a couple of people about it, and to be honest, they'd heard the same as well, that basically Cartwright didn't fancy it, and it was always leading to some sort of withdrawal or vacating the belt. So it's always a shame, particularly with these small hall cards as well, is that when the main event falls, they're not usually, they don't have the strength in depth. So it always makes it difficult, for the promoter to try and pull in somebody of a similar level, particularly when there's a respected title on the line in the English title as well. The MTK card, I think it is, where's that taking place? So, that's at the Brentwood Centre in Essex. A couple of decent fights on there. There's the Southern Areas Super Lightweight title between Mikey Saki and Idris Hill, and Michael McKinson against Ryan Kelly as well. So two good fights there, area level fights. I always say sometimes can produce the best fights of the night because it's two guys that are relatively evenly matched. I'll take no notice of the belt on the line between McKinson and Kelly. Again, decent contest. I think Kelly, I forget who he, was it Scott Fitzgerald? No, it wasn't, no. So he lost to Adam Harper for an area title, built his way back up, got a good opportunity now. And to be fair to MTK, they're putting the money in. I think they've got about 8 shows on in the space of about 8 weeks. So they're really getting the fighters out, and for all the criticism they do come under, they're getting people active, and they're getting these prospects and these guys, whether if they can't fight on the big stage, they are getting them opportunities. And this just shows with the Saki and McKinson fights. So that's okay. Harley Ben returning. Stephen Orman there, one for you, Steve. Mm-hmm. Steve Orman. I didn't know if he'd hung the gloves up. I think he. Did he win? Did he win last time out? Split decision or something like that.
He is coming off the back of the win. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember who against though.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. So Orman's looking at making a crack of it again. So yeah, it's not a bad little show that for on the small hole scene. And I can't remember the American guy that you said about.
No, don't worry about that. Sorry, no problem. Yeah, someone was mentioning in the chat earlier about putting out. I've always wondered about this. I know Matchroom have the exclusivity with Sky, and there's a lot of interlinking with the darts and all that type of stuff. But I don't know what the logistics are. You'd love them to say, right, small hall guys, get yourselves together. Here's so many dates that we aren't able to fill at the moment. Here's 5 nights. Come at me with the best of it. And then MTK could maybe say, oh yeah, we'll get this main event, this main event, this main event. Stick them all together on one show. There you go, Sky. There's a decent show for you. Maybe, I don't know, Aussie in a bit of a dream world there. But something like that could fill the slots.
It's not even that. What I would say, and I said the best thing would be, that is what Box Nation should do. They should, because they're struggling clearly for content now, they should utilise these small hall promoters, give them a platform from where lads can get out on television and the small hall promoters actually benefit from it. I would rather see Goodwin, Wood, Bull, Carl Greaves each get 4 shows
Hobson.
Or 5 shows a year. Hobson, yeah, each get 5 shows a year, and they all get on Box Nation. They can do what they want with them. Then, and it gives them an opportunity, and it gives people, you know, rather than just, I think people stream for streaming's sake now, and Steve Goodwin's been quite vocal on it. He goes, well, I don't gain anything from it. He said the numbers across streaming are pretty average, really, because, you know, people drop in and out, you know, on like Facebook Live, etc., things like that. That's where I'd like to see it go, Box Nation. I'd rather them do that than just stop buying random fights that, in reality, nobody gives a toss about.
But weren't Box Nation linking up with MTK? But now the MTK shows seem to be appearing on IFL. So is this?
So apparently, something about it couldn't be fulfilled, or it fell through, or something like that. I think that lasted a grand total of 2 shows.
Must be a nail in the coffin for Box Nation then, surely, because they were billing that as the big comeback.
It was, yeah, and it was a huge amount of content for them. And that's gone. So, I mean, they just pop up with a show here or there and every so often, don't they? But that's what I'd like to see them do. Start backing the small hall promoters, who I think would benefit from it as well, because it will give them experience, you know, potentially going to slightly bigger arenas, for example. They don't even need to. Places like York Hall are perfectly good arenas for shows what could feature, you know, like an English title. You know, like the Garvey Shinkwin card last night. That'd have been perfect. But English title on the line, 2 well-matched fighters, and some good prospects on the undercard as well. I don't think anybody would mind about that. I think they'd rather see that than countless repeats of old fights or unknown foreign content that, being brutally honest, not a lot of people have interest in.
Talking small hall stuff, good luck to 2 former friends of the pod next Friday evening. We spoke to Brad Foster recently. He's challenging Josh Whale for the vacant British Super Bantamweight title. Also Nina Bradley, vacant WBC International Female Lightweight title. She's also held the Commonwealth. She's going in against 5-0 Terry Harper. That's up Steffi Bull in Barnsley. So good luck to Brad. Good luck to Nina. Hope they both get the job done. No small hall with this guy. This is the big time here, everybody. Donny Baseball's on the call. The great return. How are you, Don?
Splendid. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's great to hear your voice again, sir. How have you been?
Just been very busy, man.
Great stuff so far. What do you want to talk about tonight, Dom? We've had Castano against Lara, a bit of AJ pushing and shoving with Miller. You've missed so much.
You've been chasing ambulances, you cunt.
It feels like you've been away. It feels like you've been away for almost 7 years.
Time to pull the trousers up, Donny, and come back with us.
No, yeah, it's been a while. Sorry, I was doing a lot of stuff. I got a house, just doing some work. That's all. I have no excuse, but I'm back for today, and hopefully back for a lot of Sundays to come. So.
Excellent. So anything you want to raise there before we move on to the guys? What about Sean Porter going in against Ugas on USA Fox? Do you watch Fox TV much, Donny?
Yeah, sure. Porter against who?
Your Dennis Ugas, household name, 23-3.
Yes. I know Ugas. I mean, obviously, I think that's just a kind of a tick-over fight for Sean Porter. He should obviously win that. I mean, he needs to get back in the mix at welterweight. I would like if maybe Porter could fight the winner of Khan versus Crawford, but obviously, of course, the same cross-promotional issues that would prevent that fight also prevent Crawford versus Spence. But maybe if it was against Porter, maybe that might be a different story. But we need to actually get some of those cross-promotional deals going on there, because right now it's kind of like the pre-Pacquiao Mayweather era, where none of the welterweights would fight each other across the promotions. And then when Pacquiao Mayweather happened, then we saw some of that mixing going on, which was great. And then now it seems to have defaulted to that unfortunate era that preceded that fight, where the deals weren't getting done, and we need to start seeing that happen.
Certainly do. A quick word on the heavyweight situation. Are you enthused by AJ against Jarrell Miller at all, Donald?
I'm not really enthused, but I understand why it's happening. I think I said actually for a long time that before Deontay Wilder versus Joshua ever happened, that Joshua would have to fight in the United States first, because I always knew that Eddie would try to build it, a pay-per-view on not only on the your guys' side of the ocean, but also on the American side. And I always knew that would happen. And Jarrell Miller is the opponent to build that fight. And it makes perfect sense. I mean, we may not like it, and it definitely delays the fights that we want to see. But if you were in Eddie Hearn's position, I think you'd be doing the same thing. Building Joshua's profile. I mean, nobody knows, honestly, if you could walk down the street in New York City, I don't think people know who Anthony Joshua is. And they will now, after this fight. I think that'll help raise his profile a lot. And the fight makes perfect sense, even if we don't like it. The thing that really pisses me off, of course, though, is that Fury is not going back in there with Wilder right away. I think that's actually way more frustrating. With the Joshua Big Baby Miller fight, it pisses me off, but that's something that I actually expected to happen. So I'm not mad, because I knew that was going to happen. But I actually expected Fury to jump in with Wilder right away, and then when he didn't, that disappointed me.
Don't like to hear you too disappointed, Donny. Hopefully Bellew of the Weeks later on will lift your spirits. Hey to Dave, tell me about this card then that we're talking about over in Carson, California. The Dignity Health Sports Park, Euthanasia Central itself. Sean Porter against your Dennis Ugas. A possible Ugas upset for MB in the chat. Also, Francisco Santana is on the card. He has fought to a draw with Julian J. Rock Williams in the past. I think he's gone the distance, one of the Charlos as well. I'm going to try and get him on the pod at some point if we can. The lines of communication have been opened. He's going in against Abel Ramos. Also, the return of Robert Guerrero, the return everyone's been waiting for, Dave, against Hevinson Herrera. I remember he was supposed to fight Patrick Hyland in Dublin back in about 2007, and his brother was supposed to fight Eddie, I think, or Paul. And anyway, they pulled out and it never happened. But I do remember that name. He's 24-16-1 now. So he's obviously got better with age. Going in against Robert Guerrero. Also, F.A. Ajagba, 8-0. Keep an eye on this heavyweight. He is going in against Amir Mansour. That could be a good test for him. Good litmus test for the new Nigerian nightmare. Porter, Santana, Guerrero. Bit of a Jagba. Dave, you looking forward to this one?
Short answer, no. Long answer, no. Porter, he can't be too happy with this. Ugas is not a name, and he poses some stylistic problems. I expect Sean Porter to come through it, probably knock him out, but it's not that easy of a fight considering the name recognition of the guy. And he just beat Danny Garcia. Like, you'd think he'd have earned something a little bit better here. I mean, even a Danny Garcia rematch would be better than this. Yeah, and that's the best fight on the card. Do not want to see Robert Guerrero back. I hope he doesn't need the money because I know his wife had cancer. It's been a long road for him. He's taken a hellacious beating in several fights. That Thurman fight, he didn't get stopped, but he took massive shots. So, yeah, I'd rather see him go off in retirement and enjoy the years he's got with his wife for surviving cancer and the millions he's earned. I think he earned like $1 million to fight that cab driver. So, I mean, good for him. I mean, Heyman paid him well, but so I don't know.
He's fought Floyd. He must have a load of money.
Yeah, you would think so.
He's been going for years. I remember him fighting Orlando Salido when he got upset years ago, fighting Spencer Bassi in Denmark in about 2005. Surely he doesn't need any money.
Yeah, you would hope not. I don't know what he's doing here. It's a pointless fight. Maybe he wants to go out on a win, and maybe it's simple as that. It doesn't. I don't want to speculate.
Maybe the DAS snorted it all because he's on something anyway. That fella, PCP or something.
I do worry about Guerrero, Dave. He's had a face-forward career all his life, and I think he's going over the edge now. He's tipping over the edge. He needs to hang him up.
Didn't he end up fighting Danny at one point? I can't remember.
Don't know. He fought the Japanese fellow, didn't he?
He did. He fought Danny after Danny fought Paulie, and before he fought Samuel Vargas. So, what can we say? Nothing much. I'm not going to watch this card.
Good stuff. Glad I asked Dave about that. Then he's not going to bother watching it. I think I'll watch it. It's not too bad. Final card of the weekend of any interest to us. Rob, just before you came on, we were talking to Joe Mullens, who's tackling Liam Williams for the British title over in the Royal Albert Hall. Decent scrap as well, possibly. Could be between Johnny Garton, Chris Jenkins. But more to the point, we've got a couple of fights here for you, Rob. Daniel Dubois, Razvan Kajanu and Anthony Yard says he will fight Kovalev after he's got past the mighty Travis Reeves. What about Dubois and Yard?
Yeah, I mean, about time both of them stepped up, like, really. And we see how good they are. Like, Dubois want to be thinking to himself, there's not much around. Like, he can put himself in the spotlight easily with a couple of good wins. Yeah, it is the guy who would have beaten Andre Ward, caught the big Russ. So he's got to be something special. We got to see the guy tested. If he wants to fight Kovalev, I think, even like Bivol, I think they're coming at the wrong time where the glamour's gone out of the light heavyweights a little bit. TV deals have all kind of expired. I know Bivol's now on ESPN, but Bivol want to look good against Joe Smith, really, like, because he hasn't looked good against anybody since Barrera. And Kovalev is coming off a good win, so he could make an interesting fight. He showed he still got something, like, so we'll see if Yard is as good as they say he is. Can he beat this version of Kovalev? Well, it's a hell of a test for him. Like, I don't know if we'll see that one next.
Andy, when we're looking at run-of-the-mill Saturday night cards, I don't want to shit on Eddie completely. I've shit on Frank enough in the past, and if he puts on crap, I'll give him grief for that. But if you're looking down this card, Saturday Night Fair, BT Sports subscriber, Williams Mullins, British title, Garton Jenkins, British title, Anthony Yard's opponent, he's not great, he's not Mehdi Amar, but Travis Reeves, fair enough, Archie Sharp, 14-0 against Lucas Ballingall, 11-0. Good crossroads fight between two unbeatens. Dubois stepping up against Kajanu. He's a bit shit, but he went the distance with Gorman. He's fought the likes of Ortiz, hasn't he? He's fought the likes of... didn't he go the distance with Joe Parker at one point? Lucian Reed stepping up against Indy Sanga, who's only 9-1. It's not the worst card for a Saturday night of reasonable entertainment, Andy.
It would be what we would consider a normal Sky card.
Yeah.
Really, it's to be honest, I have no idea about Anthony Yard's opponent, so I've got nothing really to add other than the fact is, do you think this guy is going to be able to take him rounds? Is he going to give him some work? Because I'm seeing even Billy Graham now starting to kind of question Anthony Yard's opposition. He agrees with us. He needs to step up badly. Good to see Dubois in with Cajano. This fight's been the rearranged one. That's right. It was meant to happen 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's right. It was going to be on the. Was it going to be the Leicester one or a separate London one or something? And then they've moved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something to do with injury, with decided an injury or whatever than that. But and probably the other one that I'm probably keeping an eye on as well is probably Archie Sharp. Other than that, mate, obviously Williams Melander. I think that might be a war actually. You know, Joe always brings it. I remember what Ozzy mentioned in the Lee Markham fights, specifically the first one in that. It was a really good fight. That was really kind of like prompted the rematch. Obviously, I think it was a draw as well. So, plus Williams seems to be kind of, you know, a new lease of life, so to speak. You know, move up in weights. Probably doesn't need to drain as much and stuff. So it's maybe give him a new lease of life. You obviously change the trainer and that as well. So I think it might be a really good fight that. But I think Williams will probably get to him late. Actually, maybe stop him late. I'm actually liking the look of Williams, as I say, since he moved up the middleweight. He took me by complete surprise, probably as everybody did by the Heffron fight, because to be honest, I actually kind of looked at him going into that first fight against Liam Smith, actually favouring him, and then to see him, you know, I think he got pulled out, and then he just looked listless in the rematch and stuff. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe he is what he is. He's British level and that, but to me, it looks like he's got a new lease of life up at 160.
Yeah, it won't be too bad. We have a few more questions as well, guys. We'll throw them in after Bellew of the Week. Let's go through the Bellew of the Weeks. Quite a lot, so I'll intersperse any nominations you guys have with these ones that I've got, because it's starting to get a bit dry here, Andy. Needed some of your good stuff to get the old throat going. Got a bottle of water next to me. We've had quite a few sent in, starting with Sonny. Sonny Fulton has nominated Michael Bainham. They were talking about Ivan Baranchik possibly fighting Josh Taylor. Who's going to win the Ali Trophy? Michael Bainham jumped in and said Josh Taylor versus Naoya Inoue in the final will be class. Yeah, that'll be a good one then, actually. Josh Taylor against Naoya Inoue. If they can both win their semi-finals, you never know. Stranger things have happened. Michael Bainham nominated from Sonny Fulton there. Chad Hogan, Brian King himself, he's relentless with the Bellew of the Weeks. He's nominated Lukey Boxing. I think Erislandy Lara is the best professional Cuban boxer of all time based on resume and accomplishments. Any thoughts? At Lara Boxing, tagged in from Lukey there. Maybe looking fishing a few responses possibly.
Talking about his wife.
Yeah. What is this? Talking about his wife, Rob?
Doing well sexually. Erislandy Lara.
Everyone's doing well sexually there, according to Rapping Rob Kelly. Don't know about Brian King. Maybe he's doing well sexually. Who knows? Hit us up, Brian, if you are. He's nominated Boxing Kingdom. Lucas Brown has been knocked out cold by journeyman Kamil Sokolowski. They later retracted that tweet and deleted it. Nomination for them. Chad has also nominated Lee Wiley. My take on Fighter of the Decade, says Lee, and then he comes up with a whole load of people. Ricky Gravel has nominated Rants and Bants. A few people nominated this one as well. Vlad has never been stopped. The same with Povetkin. AJ stopped them both in the second half of the fight. He carries power late. A few people nominated that one. Final one as well from Brian King. Mayweather Promotions. This was a strange one. Mayweather versus Harry Potter. Who you got? Hashtag Matchup Monday. This was the official Mayweather Promotions account was nominated in this. Mayweather versus Harry Potter. Don't know what on earth is going on over there. Maybe Floyd should stick to the red hat. Any nominations from you this week, Dave, the hater Lowback, for Bellew of the Week?
You should lay off the crack pipe if you fucking want to find out about how he beats Harry Potter.
Sounds a bit weird, doesn't it, that?
Fucking idiot.
I'll tell you what, I'd rather see the fucking Harry Potter than this Pacquiao 2 rematch, because they're saying that this is real. Everyone's saying this is real. Just fucking stay retired, you little dickhead. Stay retired, like, get out of the limelight. He can't, as much money as he's making, he's going to come back and rob us again, like. And
they're going to go through the motions, Rob, man. It's pay money's tax bill rematch.
Question marks over the two of them as well for being dope cheats, like Floyd with his yearly break retirements in mid-career and everything, like, and now they're going to come back doped up to the eyeballs and sell us a dud again. Absolute little dickhead. Just stay retired with your hat on you.
Just stay retired. Who actually felt it was appropriate to think, let's put a post out and see what people think about Floyd Mayweather against Harry Potter? Who sat there and thought, "Oh yeah, this is reasonable"? Or this is real. It's bollocks. What's the point of it? Fair enough if they'd have picked some like fighter from like say 50, 60 years ago, but Harry Potter, it's a fucking makeshift wizard. There's just no logic behind it whatsoever. Absolutely no logic whatsoever.
What do you reckon to that one, Dave? Harry Potter versus Floyd in Hogwarts, toe to toe.
I have read the Harry Potter books years ago, and I seem to remember him being British, so therefore he's a bum. British level. He's not on Floyd's level. Potter gets TKO'd in like 2 rounds, most likely.
Dave, are you on the meth tonight?
Hey, not all Americans use meth. I don't know. You've been watching too much Breaking Bad.
Harry Potter would be
the
first fighter to fly to the ring since Nazi Muhammad and the Fan Man.
The Fan Man, God rest his soul. Right, let's move on, shall we? A few more Bellew of the Weeks here. I've got one sent in from our friend Sam over at Against the Ropes Boxing. Bellew of the Week for Eddie Hearn, talking to Michelle Phelps. AJ will finish with a better resume than Lennox Lewis, according to Eddie. Bradley Lobo has nominated Tony Daniel Peden, talking about Anthony Joshua, contracts, etc. A lot of that going on. This is more up my street here. Declan Graffin, nomination for Peter Quillen. Peter Quillen's really upped his game on Twitter later. This is a law as well in Arizona. It is illegal, says Peter, to promote the use or own more than 6 dildos. And apparently this was erroneous because someone came in on the Twitter link and said, no, apparently it's 2 and the law didn't go through. But Peter Quillen, he's doing a lot of talk, Andy, lately, going down the Yusuf Mack route, talking a lot about dildos. I think maybe he's been taking a bit of advice from Devon Alexander as well. He's upped his game in Twitter.
Well, I was just going to say, actually, because he must have just deleted it. I managed to save it because he's got another tweet that came out and he says, and I quote, the more sex partners a woman has while being single lowers her chances of being in a happy marriage. Hashtag food for thought. So I better take a screenshot of that. We've seen it's been deleted.
Oh, has it been deleted? I got that one screenshotted as well. So there you go.
Hashtag food for thought. Hashtag kid chocolate.
Kid chocolate make you melt. Talking of things that have been deleted, actually, Javonta Davis and AB are having a bit of banter going backwards and forwards on Twitter. They're loving Adrian Broner in Atlanta, says Javonta Davis. Broner apparently said, I'm wearing this cologne again, and a fag came up to me and said, whatever you're wearing is amazing. Get out of Atlanta now, says Javonta, who screenshotted the whole thing and put it up. And then mysteriously it got deleted. Someone said, take that down. Bit of bad language there from old Javonta and AB, seeing what they're getting up to. Talking of bad stuff going on, we've got Mauricio Suleiman. Actually, last week, we had some great information from the WBC regarding the Wilder Fury fight. Some non-information, in fact. Well, Mauricio Suleiman has updated us, everybody. Bronze Bomber versus Tyson Fury is officially not happening next. The WBC has received communications as our process, and while WBC champion Wilder confirmed his willingness to fight the rematch, Fury will take on another fight with expectations to do a rematch at a later date. They then put up a fight poster for the rematch that they just announced wasn't happening. So the biggest no news coming out the WBC at the moment, trying to keep them relevant with non-announcements. Callum Neal was all over that one and let me know about it for Bellew of the Week. Who else have we got here? Tony Bellew has been nominated by Sam. He put up a picture of Graham Souness, a video, in fact, and it got taken down by his own employers. So he got reported for putting up a video there by Sky, who actually employ him. Also, we've got Baz has been nominated, talking about AJ, quite a few of these. Rants and Bants, mentioned this earlier. Anthony nominated that one, saying that Vlad had never been stopped before he went in against AJ. Tommy Cahill, Roy Conroy, Tottenham Boxing, quite a few different people nominated that. Andy, you have nominated this one through the medium of Michael Gearty, the Pound for Pound podcast. Yeah, Carl Frost.
Please play the clip.
Stats with Carl or something. I haven't got the.
I'll send you the link.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I'll get to you now. Hang on, mate. There you go. Don't at me.
Send it through to me.
There you go. Please play that. That is fucking hilarious.
Well, Andy, I would love to, but unfortunately, it's come through on my computer, which is actually running the YouTube at the moment, so I'm not actually able to play.
You got your phone there? I'll send it to you on Twitter.
I've got my phone, so if you email it or Twitter it to me or something, I'll be able to play it. I'll go on through the Bellews and I'll play it. It is well worth a listen, everybody. So Andy's going to send it on to me. While he's doing that, let's move on, shall we? Terry Rudfine has nominated people. He's been arguing about Chisora. Joe Ringer, Steve Bunce has suggested that Eubank Jr. fights Amir Khan next at £161. Not sure where he's getting that from. Box Royalty has nominated Scott Harrison, former boxer, now painter. Painting I've done of the new Celtic manager. Then he did a painting of what looks to be Neil Lennon, I think. You know what's going on there. Andy Scott has nominated Tarak Bennett.
Come on, Lennon.
Yeah, good old Lennon there. Anderisms has nominated James Williams. Well, I'll have a quick drink of water. Rob, any more nominations from you?
Well, no, I'm presuming you're going to get to the Frotch pad.
I would eat
so I'll leave it for that. That was the real gold. But yeah, Dillian White for this Coley shit, and but he did, even though he did make some interesting points in his Eiffel, where he said recently on Twitter that AJ was like the Lance Armstrong of boxing. They pressed him on it, and he said that he wanted 15-week drug testing because AJ's not in the year-round program, and he is. And he said he's off in these foreign countries where there's no testing, like Dubai. And he was basically putting some heavy allegations on AJ. So, speaking away from the matchroom narrative, Dillian White there, he's going to get frozen out for that one, I think. Like,
I'm starting to feel a bit sorry for AJ. They're all going in on him, aren't they? White, Miller, everybody calling him a drugs cheat. We had Dr. Joseph Ajayo on the pod.
There's a way around that. There's a way around
There's
a way around those allegations. You fight them.
Don't know. What do you think, Donnie, about the whole thing? Are you suspecting AJ? Do you think he's given a clean bill of health? Or what's the verdict?
You know, as Andy says these days, if you're not suspecting everybody, then you're a moron. Yeah, I mean, the amount of muscle he put on between the Olympics and his pro debut is, would make, like, I think Dillian. Oh no, it wasn't Dillian White. It was Big Baby Miller. That would make bodybuilders jealous. You have to be questioning something, but. I mean, at that time, particularly, he had his youth. It is more possible to make greater gains in terms of your musculature when you're young. So, is it possible that he's clean? Yeah, of course it is. But, I think that, the guy looks like a sculpted Adonis. And, how many people do you see in boxing that look like that? It's just either has great genetics or he doesn't.
Very interesting as well that's kind of coming from in-house. Because Dillian White is I know he's fight by fight with Matchroom, but he's Matchroom made, and he's an insider, so interesting.
Donnie, what type of condition are you in? I always imagined you as a buff white dude.
At one time, maybe, not now.
Okay.
Yeah, now. See, the thing is that, I'm kind of like Ricky Hatton. In between fights, he would blow up. Yeah, well, basically, I'm getting married in September. I got engaged in Christmas, so. I've been basically getting fat since then. All right, I got the engagement done, and now I need to boil down for the fight.
Have you got 12 weeks to rip off all the weight and get into the suit?
You'll need to boil down so you can locate your cock.
Yeah, I had to pull it out of your mom first.
I think they can. You're into necrophilia.
7-year wedding night.
7-year anal.
Yeah. Let's get a copy over to Donnie. Have a good wedding. Right, Josh Fitzgerald nominated Ryan. Brick Shithouse says Ryan. Lucas Brown has no chance against Dave Allen. This is the one that Andy, you were mentioning. Iron-fisted champion jumped in as well. Peter Quillen. The more sex partners a woman has while being single, lowers her chances of being in a happy marriage. Hashtag food for thought. Loving all this. James Bairstow has nominated the MC from last night in Peterborough, Phil Seymour. The doors are about to open here in the East of England Arena. We're live on Sky Sports. Some quality fights in store. Enjoy, says Phil. Thanks for the heads up there. Ian has nominated Andy, talking about Frank Warren shows. Jay King has nominated boxing, talking about Kevin Mitchell, possibly being an all-time great. He didn't fulfill his potential. This was a good back and forward, actually, Andy. Tony Bellew. Apparently, we don't know if this is a real Titi Kamara account. The former Liverpool, I think he played for West Ham, winger, Titi Kamara, was having a back and forward with Tony Bellew. Kamara said something about the Liverpool-Everton match, which was going on today in England. A bit of soccer ball for the American listeners there. And Bellew said, right back at you, Uriah Rennie. Are you officiating today, pal? In reference to an old referee. Oh, have you beat a man with one leg, says Kamara. No, son, replied Bellew. I've been a world champion in my sport. Is that what you was in yours? Sorry, I didn't think so either. And I thought Kamara's response, Andy, was quite brutal, but quite accurate, wasn't it? That's great, Tony. You defended it once against a 40-year-old, and then you got put to sleep. Hashtag go out on top.
I actually favoured that tweet of Sam Shirley, how can you respond to the facts and the truth of the matter by the way? You can't. You just fuck it. take it on the chin, Tony, and move on, mate. I had a bit of a mare, eh?
Even better, JG has said in the chat here, it's a Liverpool fans account. It's not the real Titi Kamara. Bellew got trolled badly by a fake profile. Well, I thought whoever it was quite an interesting back and forward there. So even better, Bellew was fooled on that one. Who have we got? Lemachenko has nominated Pugilism Lover. Back and forward here between Spencer Fearon and Babs. Just finished filming a documentary on Dillian White for the BBC, says Spencer, with the lovely Eleanor Roper, whoever that is. She really knows her boxing. Babs jumped in. Did you compare him to Joe Frazier again, Chief? You prick, says Spence. It was Larry Holmes, and it was more to do with the flicking jab, but he's more Tim Witherspoon. Porky's Corner got jumped in there and nominated him. Bit of a back and forward between Jimmy O'Connor and a few other people. Jimmy says Joshua is banging out these clowns and raking in the money. They can't touch him in the ring, so they're accusing him of being a jug cheat. Fucking pathetic. Step up your game and earn a shot at AJ's 4 belts. Win, then run your mouth. Otherwise, shut the fuck up, says Jimmy O'Connor. There you go. He has spoken. That's all the ones I've got. I'm going to go over and have a look to find this Carl Froch clip that Andy has sent on Twitter so we can play it. In the meantime, Dave, Donny, Andy, Gabe, Ozzy, Rob, whoever has any Bellew of the Weeks to throw in, jump in now while I try and find this clip.
I've got a few. Clarissa Shields, she put out a tweet saying, do you all know the story of Reuben Carter, Canadian boxer, middleweight champion, wrongly convicted of murder in the 1960s? Americans, again, fail with their geography lessons and stuff like that because Reuben Carter isn't a Canadian middleweight boxer. This one,
he was from New Jersey.
Yeah, I know. Clarissa Shields strikes again.
Did she say 1860s?
No, 1960s.
Oh, okay. I thought you got the date wrong too.
This one's been deleted. I don't know why in the end, but it was fucking brilliant. It was 7 News Brisbane Media. Jeff Horn's apparently getting lined up to fight Jaime Munguia. Now, the problem is Munguia is actually hyphenated, and it's Mongoya. They've actually pronounced it MON-GOYA. They've since deleted that tweet, so. Kind of. What about Eubank yesterday? Turn up at the Brighton Huddersfield game with his fake world title stand there at half time, with his belt at his shoulder, geezing to pump fists and stuff.
Didn't see that.
Oh, but it was sad to see, man.
Nothing sad about an IBO title, Andy.
Yeah, true. Obviously, WBC for that Mayan belt, that's Ticker belt, and I'll probably this time should throw in the one and only Mr. Carol Froch.
The Mayan belt. Before you go with the Mayan belt, they're now doing belts for ancient civilizations. Next up, the belt from Atlantis.
What about the Inca Continental title?
we need to get a plutonium title out at some point.
Oh, fucking hell.
Whoever beheads a virgin first is the inaugural title holder there.
Oh, you don't find one in the UK anyway, put it that way.
WBC Tutankhamun belt on the line.
Aye, so I need to throw in Carol Froch, obviously James McGill announces his retirement. Carol Froch, obviously, George Groves, bitter enemy, James DeGale, finds a wee bit of class about him, keeps it civil, and says, you reached the highest level, congratulations, you can retire now. Well done, George. Andre Ward steps up next. Congratulations, champ, you had a great career. Badou Jack, obviously, he had a great fight with James DeGale, lost his teeth, all that type of thing as well. Mate, you should be proud, happy retirement. Absolutely brilliant. It was lovely to see these kind, heart, endearing messages and stuff like that. Then steps forward, Carol Froch.
He's bitter as fuck, isn't he?
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Here we go, man. Here we go. Carol Froch on James DeGale. He was a great fighter. You have got to have massive respect for him. But was he the best of the best? He was not. If we had met, I'd have been too strong for him. I'd have backed him up and I'd absolutely smashed it to bits. Happy retirement, James. What a bitter arsehole, by the way. Couldn't he help himself? What a
it's like
funny.
A lot of fighters are like that. Hagler was like that too. He was super bitter after he lost that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Some guys just can't let go.
He's just pathetic at this stage. I think he's doing it for a wind up at this stage. He can't be that. Although he is, though. I think so why didn't he just take his plastic nose and fuck off back to Poland?
He's not as clever to be that kind of. He's that kind of dry, witty type way. But even then, he's still not getting any personality. He's no go.
No, he's no pattern. Like,
He's not got the self-awareness to actually be funny like that. He's just
even
who he is.
Kazagi's son killed him years ago, didn't he? In the DMs, like he was like, "Dad said he let you hold his Ring magazine belt if you want." He hasn't got it. He was offering him out on the cobbles and all. Like he hasn't got a sense of self-awareness or whatever. Like so, he genuinely thought that he would. But I remember at the time differently that he didn't really want that James DeGale fight. I don't think,
No.
He seemed to call it a day when James DeGale was knocking on the door. So. Well, maybe he wouldn't have smashed him to bits with his plastic nose.
Just take your plastic nose and fuck off back to Poland, you fucking prick.
He's doing well sexually, isn't he?
He is, in fairness to him.
Right, let's get this going then. We have the Carl Froch.
Never knew that. Roger's fascinating facts of the week.
What the hell is that?
6 times hotter than the sun. Fact.
Roger's fascinating facts of the week. Roger's fascinating facts of the week. His granddad comes from Poland, he never fought in Holland. Well, I never knew that. Roger's fascinating facts.
That'll do. There you go.
That is awful, man. That is. Ken, I was listening to some podcast the other day there, and see these podcasts that actually put the wee silly fucking bell in between segments and stuff. That's like 10 years ago. We need to move forward for that, but that's just fucking. I actually hear better ditties on the local radio station, fucking advertised local taxi firm, fucking and shit like that. That is just pure, unadulterated, undiluted pish.
What the fuck was that? What kind of hillbilly shit was that?
Carl Froch's fascinating fact of the week. I cut you off, Ozzy. I didn't mean for that to play there, and then apologies for that.
No, don't worry about it. I've got one. It's for Anthony Bellew. So obviously we know after the Usyk fight, he wanted privacy. He didn't want anything to do with it. He was telling Kugan Cassius at ringside to leave him alone. He then proceeded to do, I think, a 34-minute interview, despite not wanting any publicity or any sort of notice to him. Again, despite that, he then appears on Saturday Night Fight Night commentating on Jordan Gill's fight. Again, despite not wanting any publicity, and he wants to be left alone, and renamed himself Anthony Bellew. And not only that, I found out that on Saturday morning, he also went on Soccer AM. So for a guy that is trying to now avoid the limelight, 34-minute interviews, appearances on Soccer AM, and being a co-commentator on Sky Saturday Night Fight Night, I think it's fair to say he's not doing a very good job. So, Anthony Bellew is my nomination for that.
Okay, let's move on. Any others here? Andy, let's move on.
Yeah. Oh, no. Fucking prick. I fucking hate you. You fucking bender.
You love it, really. Go on. Any more?
I'm going to fuck you up with that meeting next time, by the way.
Ding, ding. Oh, brilliant.
It's about that regular thing. I've lost track of them all. There's been some great ones. I thought the Bellew, Tissy Kimura thing was
It's got to be fucking Frotz.
Yeah. For the facts and for the DeGale response and for everything, I'm going for Frotz. You going for him as well, Rob?
Oh, 1,000,000%. Any other week could be Bellew, but Frotz has to be.
There you go. What do you reckon, Ozzy, are you going for this week? Bellew's been a strong one. Eddie's had a mare as well as usual. Maybe not as bad this week.
Nah, Frotch. The guy somehow makes retirements and other people somehow about himself. It's like he's got bipolar or something. It's just a switch flicks in his head and he just goes all out on the slagging people off all the time. So, Carl's not won anything in a while now, so I'm happy to give him this Bellew of the week.
Just a quick intermission there, Ozzy. I don't know if you know any more about this, but the guys in the chat are talking about it. It's not really any of our business, but pound for pound, we're going to do a live show, weren't they? And then it seemed to have fell through, or what exactly happened there? Does anybody know?
Yeah, I sabotaged everything and made sure it didn't go ahead. So, thought I'm not having any of that. These no-opers, publicly funded. I thought I'll have a bit of fun. Cancelled every booking, and let's say I've succeeded. So that's 1-0 to the Boxing Asylum podcast.
Well done. Yeah, we need to get Guru Promotions on the go with a tour with the Tommy the Guru Allen. I think that could be coming to a theatre near you, as you would say, Gabe. Who are you going for this week? We need to get a theme tune for you, Gabe. I was liking that sort of little ditty there for Carl Frotch. We can maybe have something for you. Bit of a Texas tornado.
It's definitely got to have a banjo in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey.
like the Deliverance theme.
Squeal, piggy,
But,
squeal.
hey, on Sunday, next Sunday, tune in for the live premiere of my new theme song. It's going to happen. Just be ready for it. Anthony Bellew.
So you made a strong case, Gabe. That's a good pick from you. We've had 3 for Frotch, 1 for Bellew. Andy, who are you going for this week?
Oh, George, Carol Frotch, without question.
Big Carl Frotch there. Getting thrown in, Donny. Good to have you back. Is it Bellew? Is it Frotch? Maybe it's somebody else, Donny. You can pick whoever you want.
Well, before I vote, I would just say that I was wondering when Peter Quillen sent that tweet about how women who have lots of sexual partners before marriage are less likely to have a happy marriage, and it was hashtag food for thought. I think Rob Kelly would appreciate this. I was just wondering whether it was food for THOT.
Any appreciation, Rob, for this?
1,000,000%. That
like a thought, you know, like that.
Thought is, of course, a Hood abbreviation for that hoe over there.
Yeah.
So much love to the hoes. And if you're doing well sexually, then you're going to be causing a lot of unhappy marriages because you know there's a direct correlation between sexual partners and marital bliss.
But actually, no, I think Frotch is definitely a worthwhile winner here for multiple offenses. The song and for the the tweet to Gale. I think he's a worthy winner.
Worthy winner. Looks like it's going to be a landslide. Only the one for Bellew.
Take that L, Frotch, like when Ward beat the shit out of you with one hand. Take that L that you can't get over to this day that haunts you for the rest of your days.
Also, we keep on making jokes about, he's doing well sexually. I'm well aware of the reference to that TY boxing guy, who, by the way, is hilarious. But I love that one where he makes fun of fucking Frotch's earring because he's got no earlobes. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I've watched them all. They are funny.
Oh God, those things! I've watched those things at least 3 times each. They're so good.
Man, he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
He's very sharp. He's not stupid. He's on the button. Like.
What I love about him though is where does he get these pictures from? Like some of these photos are like, I think there was a thing where he was like, oh yeah, Mayweather must be not be doing well now because Anthony Joshua like there was some girl or whatever who just like walked straight past Mayweather like he was nobody and didn't even notice him or whatever and walked right up to Anthony Joshua. Like he must troll the internet for hours just finding this.
And having to go at Umar, IFL Umar, who's doing well sexually also.
There we go. Kelly, Rob, Kelly.
We need to get that guy on the pod. That would be some real entertainment.
Well, you're the lawyer, Donny. Do you think that could actually happen, or do you think there might be some legal implications? You were saying
it might have to be a pre-record.
Get Kurt Ward on the editing. Ben Wiseman Industries.
Yeah, that's our insurance carrier. Just send it right there. All your complaints, to send it to Ben Wiseman.
Ben Wiseman. Right, hey today, I'm edging closer to you by the minute here. Who's your Bellew of the Week nomination?
Are you the Cobra. He's worked the hardest for it. Although I do agree with his statement, he would have smashed the Gale. But yeah, he's got it.
Congratulations, Carl. Doing well sexually. He's doing well, win the awards as well. He's not going to get that Andre Ward rematch, but he's won the Bellew of the Week for this week. So congratulations to him. Nothing else, no other business for this week. So I think we'll wrap up here. Thanks to Dave Lowback. Sober as ever on the call. Great return as well for Donny Baseball. Always good to have him on. And a stalwart of the asylum. Popping us up as usual. Dave's run off. Gabe's there. Look out for his theme tune next week. The Real Life Deliverance. Thanks for Ozzie Smith as well. Also, thanks to Rapping Rob Kelly, as always, for jumping on with us. We had Joe Mullens on earlier. Lucas Brown interview done by Bopping Ben Faruqi will be put on the Asylum channel at some point during the week, so keep an eye out for that. Don't forget, if you're in the chat, to hit a big like. No, Dom, I'm afraid no more questions. We did have one about Ricky Hatton, but I've smashed my phone screen, so I can't bring it up tonight, so we'll have to bring it up next week. If you have any questions, Dom, anybody else, throw them into me on Twitter or email, Patreon, whatever, and then we'll ask them next week. I've been Steve Wellings. Thank you for joining us on the 312th episode of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. We'll speak to you all next week. Bye.